Gentlemen and female gentlemen, welcome to the massive 100% blind lore dive into Elden Ring lore and shit. Alright, dude, Vati video just dropped 13 hours ago. The lore of Elden Ring is blasphemous, and I'm sure this is gonna be all about my boy Rykard. Now, I know a thing or two about Rykard, mostly because I've killed him. That's all I know. I don't know anything else about Rykard. I think that one of the biggest mysteries for me in Elden Ring is who the hell is this snake? I get the idea you have all these outer gods floating around and shit. The cosmic gods and rot gods and blood gods and formless mothers. I prefer my mother with form. That sounded really wrong. But I don't know what the snake has to do with anything. Somehow Snake God never somehow fit into this lore for me, and I'm excited to see what this is all about. This, I am letting you know. If this video underperforms on YouTube, I am watching all the rest of the Elden Ring lore myself. Okay? It will not... so leave a like and a comment and stuff, because I will not keep doing Elden Ring lore on YouTube. I will do it myself alone, because I want to consume all the lore already, and I don't want to wait to do it on stream. Okay? Alright, let's see what we got. Let's see what we're doing. Alright.
The god of...
Let's go. Let's see. If you leave a like, we'll be able to watch the rest of this lore together!
Mount Gelmir is a serpent. And it has been there for a long time.
Old ass snake.
Before the age of the Erdtree, in an era we know little about, there was an ancient, immortal serpent deity on Mount Gelmir.
Yeah, but what is this? How this fits into the plot? That's the problem. Ancient, immortal serpent deity, sure. But I thought the only god here was like Marika. Marika's the god. Okay, previous Elden Lord was Placidusax, as we've confirmed. I don't know where the snake falls into any of this, alright? I know that there's a lot of weird snake hentai coming out of this area, and I'm just saying that so people on Twitter could clip me and I could get canceled for it, because it makes me happy when I get canceled for stuff like that, because it just puts my name in the public zeitgeist, you know what I'm saying?
And a forgotten religion that venerated it. We learned this from the serpent god's curved sword, which was a tool used to offer up...
I love how he calls it a tool, not a sword, because that shit sucks in the game.
...sacrifices, fashioned in the image of the ancient serpent deity. The serpent takes. The serpent is greed. It always...
Honestly, I completely agree with that take. I think that it's very likely the 7 main remembrance bosses in Elden Ring are based on, like, the 7 deadly sins. And Rykard is definitely greed. The idea that he just wants to consume. He became blasphemous to fight against the Erdtree. Like, that's the vibe I got. Dude, the key to life is to literally don't give a fuck. It's crazy. No, honestly, true. It's true. Every once in a while, I feel like I need to get some public advertisement. So I'm just like, oh, I've seen snake hentai. And then that goes on Twitter. It gets public. A lot of people come to my videos. And then once again, relevancy gained. It's not easy to live this rent-free in different people.
Always has been, ever since Dark Souls, where the serpent was a symbol of avarice.
Alright, you gotta let me know if we're gonna do the Dark Souls lore dive after this.
And so, in the ancient age of Elden Ring, the serpent consumed its sacrifices and grew vast. But there were those who would not stand for it.
Like this very, very emaciated guy with the serpent killer spear MacGuffin.
They brandished the Serpent Hunter, a weapon that is both greatsword and spear, thought to have been used
only in fucking Dark Souls. And they're like, alright, this is gonna be both greatsword and spear at the same time. It's like how in Warhammer they have chainsaw swords. It's like, it's a sword, but it's also a chainsaw. It's like, this is gonna be a greatsword and also a spear. This is my favorite gender of weapons.
Used to hunt an immortal great serpent in...
It's like a gun that shoots knives. Like, that's just the most fucking baller gangster shit in the universe.
The distant past, it manifests a blade of light when facing such a creature.
Alright.
So it is that we can speculate that the serpent deity was defeated.
Cooked him!
But the serpent never dies. And
well, it's a hence immortal snake deity.
So it would return one day to feast upon a demigod who had ventured deep into Mount Gelmir, seeking power. This is a video about the blasphemy of Praetor Rykard, the demigod child of Radagon and Renalla, who would one day be consumed by the immortal serpent.
Daddy?
Together we will feast on the very gods. Together we will forge the gods. Together.
Dude, whoever voice acted that deserves a Medal of Honor. All right, baby, it's time for blasphemous lore. Everyone told me I should do the frenzy lore and the Ranni Age of Stars lore next. I'm jumping on this one specifically because he just dropped the video, and I had it in my feed all day, holding myself back from watching it. So we're doing this one first, but let me know which one you want me to do next, if this video actually performs well.
Here, at the Church of Vows...
I love how snakes, like, in different fiction, like, here, you have this guy over here. Bro, this is how you make a snake fucker dangerous, okay? You compare this to Voldemort. Voldemort is like, Harry Potter, I will attack you in high school. I will invade the high school. And it's like, all right, dude. All right, brother. You are nowhere nearly as cool as this guy, Praetor Rykard over here. Holy shit. Harry Potter!
Here, at the Church of Vows...
I've sacrificed my nose! Alright, I'm sorry, I have to...
Ionia, the House of the Erdtree and the Moon were joined.
What the hell does this have to do with Rykard?
Radagon, Champion of Gold, and Renalla, Queen of Caria, were wedded. This ended a war between Ionia and Leyndell.
Alright, we've already covered this. This is pre-Shattering, right? This is old news.
Eventually, Radagon would abandon Renalla.
Nagini, kill him! I'm sorry. He's just such a pussy.
Not before siring 3 children with her. These children...
I love how, like, you'll have different people between me and Vati, okay? Vati Vidya, this man is so fucking cool. They sired 3 children. And I'm like, after 3 massive cum blasts, little creatures crawled out of her vagina. We are not the same. We have some... There is a difference between us, and I can't put my finger on it.
Children were Ranni, Radagon, and Rykard.
All right.
All 3 were born with
The
Radagon's
letter R in the front.
red hair and Renalla's aptitude for...
Well, I mean, she does... Oh, right. She has red hair because her corpse has red hair. Right, we saw that. God, dude, the characters are so iconic, it's crazy. Like, you'd think that they're just cool as bosses or as NPCs, but unironically, I am so curious as to the backstories of all 3 of these guys. I just did the brief Elden Ring lore dive on the different demigods. Like, I got the basic gist. He's fed himself to a snake. This dude went crazy holding back the stars. She planned her whole fucking revolution shit, and I'm just sitting here dying to know the whole stories and reasonings behind what they're doing. Like, iconic characters. Mind-blowing that they actually did this.
Magic, and all 3 officially became demigod stepchildren when Radagon divorced their mother and married the goddess Marika instead. In truth, however, Renalla's children...
Imagine divorcing someone to marry yourself. That's like next level cuck shit. When you're in a cuck competition and your opponent is Sneeko.
Were never demigod stepchildren. They were demigod children. Full stop. That's because, secretly, Radagon
was Marika! No one will ever understand that. No one will ever understand that. I'm sorry. And I think that Marika and Radagon were always one of the same. They embodied different faces of the greater will, and therefore they took 2 forms. One was causality, one was regression. That is what I believe, at least so far, until someone tells me, proves differently. That is my vibe here, because I think the names in Elden Ring give people power. They give people status. They give people identity. So when he's known as Radagon, he is known as the regression, and when he is known as Marika, she is known as causality. That's why I think it's so impressive that Rykard is known as Praetor Rykard, Rykard the Blasphemous, Rykard the Serpent. Like, he gets different titles based on the different perceptions that people have in him. Right? Regression is somewhat also a form of causality. No, it's somewhat a form of order. Regression and causality are the 2 different facsimiles of order, and therefore it took 2 forms. One thing I don't understand is how he fucked himself and had children. that I will admit I do not understand. I don't know, maybe a power of 1, power of 2, power of many, and then bam, Marika got pregnant. All right, so far that's fucking shit.
Thus, Ranni, Radagon, and Rykard always were born of a god, even though they might not have known it.
True.
Their father remarrying with a god conferred some benefits, it seems. For one, Radagon's children would be honored enough to sit equally aside their step-siblings
I alone am the honored one.
in Leyndell. This is shown during Morgoth's cutscene. The way these thrones are arranged, it's almost as if there was once a council here of sorts.
I mean, that's what it seems like. You had the Elden Lord, and then you had the different demigods that were kind of sitting next to him, being like, giving vibes and opinions and shit, right?
Now, of course, there is no council. And
because democracy is cringe. Why do you need an Elden Lord to have all your 4 billion people that you listen to?
Morgoth spits out their names.
God, people are the
he
best.
considers all of the demigods to be traitors to the positions of authority they once held.
You could tell that because he said, traitors all! That's how you know.
General Radagon.
God, dude, the voice acting is so fucking crisp in this game.
Praetor Rykard.
Luna Princess Ranni.
Rykard
Traitors all!
having the title of Praetor in the days where he sat this
Failed nut of a man! Or something. I don't remember if he said that last line.
throne is an extremely interesting point of discussion. Praetor is a word that has its origins in the city of ancient Rome, where a praetor was a sort of magistrate, someone who exercised authority from a courthouse.
Honestly, I just thought it was because they wanted to give each of them a different cool-sounding title. Holy shit. If there's actually lore behind his title, Praetor, I'm gonna lose my shit. It's like they had the Princess Ranni, they had the General Radagon, they had all of them, okay? Like, so Praetor, they wanted to give him another freaking cool word.
And its collection of judges. By some Roman accounts, praetors were not just involved with the law, but were also involved with commanding armies and conducting war, though it might be a stretch to say that Rykard had that much authority. Instead, I think it's safer to assume that Rykard's praetorship was busied with discovering the truth and administering justice.
All right.
By any means.
I mean, we do see, dude, his entire Gelmir place was just full of cages with people dangling their feet out over the lava pits. So I see that. I see that.
Necessary, and I feel safe.
I don't know, but when you look at the Great Shattering and all the different Elden Ring siblings that went to fight each other and shit, you had like Ranni planned to stole the Rune of Death, got the Black Knives to kill Godwyn. Melania fought with Radahn, launched the rot shit all over Caelid. You had Godric hiding in Storvale Castle because he was afraid that, you know, Melania or Radahn would wipe him out. Like, they all had this weird shtick going on where every single one of them kind of was very intertwined with the stories of the other, you know? Mohg ended up kidnapping Mikola from the Haligtree. Like, they all had, like, some sort of connection, some plan. Rykard is the only one, at least from my playthrough or slight, very brief experience, he's the only one that really seemed completely disassociated from the rest of them. It's almost like he trivialized the cringe shit that they were doing because he found a greater source of power. I mean, I guess we'll see where this goes, but it definitely makes him an interesting character. He's I think the most, I guess, sidestepped of the children. Like, he definitely doesn't fit in with each other's plots as much as everyone else does.
Leveling this characterization at him because of Gideon.
Gideon! My goat! I love Gideon. I don't know why everyone hates Gideon. I love Gideon. Bro's awesome.
Rykard is the lord of the Volcano Manor on Mount Gelmir.
Dude, listen to the way he talks. Dysfunctional family? Bro, dysfunctional family indeed. You know who doesn't have any dysfunctions? Radagon. Radagon has no erectile dysfunction. He impregnated everyone. He impregnated Renalla. He impregnated himself. He got impregnated. Bro's the GOAT.
He is a ruthless justiciar who commands a company of inquisitors.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Didn't he create the freaking Inquisitor, those rolling pieces of shit with the giant Iron Maiden thing where they fucking vor you and then stab you to shit inside of them? Isn't that his creation?
Rykard wasn't just a praetor and a justiciar, he was also Lord of the Volcano Manor, a structure built into the very side of the volcano to the west of Altus Plateau.
Pretty badass.
It was to here, I believe, that Leyndell outsourced much of their justice, and I think that theory will make more sense as we go.
right.
So let's investigate.
Wait, so his job was literally, he was the Punisher? Like, they built his shit on a volcano just to... That's right, that's why I have all these guys hanging there in the background, flayed. Holy crap.
The manor and try to learn more about Rykard as he was before the Shattering, when we think he still served Leyndell. To arrive at the manor, one commonly first receives an invitation.
I hereby invite you to the Volcano Manor.
Oh, look at her. She's bent over. I wonder if she's like a snake monster or something.
Take my hand and have audience with my mistress.
Yeah, please do. God, if I could use a mistress.
Upon arrival, you're met.
That was a joke. That was a joke for all of those that were wondering. I'm very happy and faithful. Okay, I'm just saying.
With a well-maintained grandeur not common to Elden Ring's other castles. Clearly, first impressions are important here. You make your way in, head up to the banquet hall,
and you get attacked by a giant pizza cutter.
And before long, you're invaded by the specter of one of Rykard's most loyal inquisitors.
Wait, actually?
This is Inquisitor Ghiza. And
so why does Inquisitor Ghiza attack you, bro? Shouldn't he be doing other things? Come on, bro. At least ask me some riddles. Like the Sphinx of Ghiza. No, the Inquisitor Ghiza is like, oh, hey, I'm gonna murder you now.
His lore reveals just how ruthless Rykard's inquisitions were. His weapon of choice is an iron wheel lined with flesh-flaying blades that cause severe pain and blood loss. It's a device of torture that kind of evokes the torture wheels of antiquity.
I mean, it's a giant pizza cutter. It looks terrible.
Intimidating tool that was likely very effective at getting Ghiza's victims to tell the truth. And if you're asking what truth...
to tell the truth. I love how torture... Everyone's like, yes, they torture them to tell the truth. Torturing does not get people to tell the truth, okay? This is a massive, huge lie told to you by big government. They want you to think that torture tells the truth. Torture does not tell the truth. Torture gets people to say what you want to hear. It's like, did you commit the crime? No, I didn't. And then you start like ripping his fingers off. Did you commit the crime? No, you keep ripping his fingers off. Did you commit the crime? Okay, I commit the crime. He just wants you to stop ripping his fingers off. This is a massive scam. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Well, I imagine Leyndell would have had a lot of truths that it would like to extract from its populace, for it sees many things as sins. For example, if you were Omen, you were to be hunted or
that's rough, buddy.
Sent to the shunning ground.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Legalized racism.
If you were a prophet who saw the Erdtree burn in your visions, then you could be exiled.
Honestly? Bro has a dream and they exile him for it? Holy moly. That thought crime's on another level. Dude, have you gooned in the capital? Well, you're out. Have you thought of Mistress Ranni's feet? Toast.
With a wheel bolted to your neck.
Shit, dude. These guys were just prophets? Oh my god.
If you were suspected of conspiring with the Frenzied Flame, you could get your entire clan entombed.
Oh my god! These guys were all murdered down here because they, liked the Frenzy Flame? Brother.
Beneath the earth for...
Dude, everyone's been telling me that I need to watch his Try Not to Cry Frenzy Flame video.
For eternity. So, yeah, the Golden Order isn't exactly flexible. And sure, Miriel tells us that heresy can be conjoined with order, but historically that was only true if your heresy was such a threat to the Erdtree that it couldn't be overcome any other way.
Listen, as a renowned servant of the Lord of Change, Tzeentch, I believe in a bit of heresy now and again.
Aside from Ghiza's signature wheel, a more common weapon of the Inquisitors was the Inquisitor's Jiren.
God, dude, why do they look so gnarly? Holy shit. I mean, anything's a dildo if you're brave enough, but I don't know if I'm that brave.
Which has numerous spikes that pierce the flesh.
Bro, we need a fucking, what's Nick Ricada is looking at this and he's like, I could make it work. For those of you that aren't familiar, Nick Ricada is a lawyer on YouTube that was just caught buying baldos. If you don't know what a baldo is, it's like a dildo, but you put your balls in the dildo casing to use your balls as your dick. Anyway,
then singe the wounds with flame. Basically, it creates a wound, then immediately cauterizes it so that the torture can continue for
Okay, that's fucked up. That is mega fucked up.
longer.
It specifically heals your wounds so that the torture could be longer. It's like a lightsaber, except instead of focusing on efficiency, it's focused on torture.
The smell of burnt blood induces despair in the
Bro.
victim, and this candlestick,
I didn't even consider how much pain you're causing when you use this crap.
conceived by a thorough mind, was explicitly used on nobles behind the curtain at the Volcano
Honestly based, though. If you're gonna use that on someone, might as well be nobles.
Manor. Now, the word noble in Elden Ring doesn't really relate to any one faction. There are Godskin nobles, Sanguine nobles, and many others besides.
I thought nobles were just like people that were considered noble in different groups. So the Sanguine nobles are considered nobles for the blood god, and you have the regular nobles that are considered nobles for the, I don't know, greater will or whatever.
That said, the most common nobles
So wait, so the Volcano Manor is literally just the CIA of Elden Ring. Just fucking going out there and sticking candlesticks up people's asses.
are those from the capital, who, according to
Bro's throat game is crazy. What? Bro's actually just the throat goat. Look at this man. He is like practiced and ready to roll. Holy shit, dude. Oh god.
the old aristocrat Cal, are undead wanderers who abandoned their birthplace after the Shattering. Of all the nobles in Elden Ring that the Inquisitor's Durandal would have been used on,
God, look at this man. It's like, how many hits does it take to kill him? You just keep stabbing him up his ass with it.
I believe it was these citizens
I
of
guess.
Leyndell. So, for the last few minutes, I've made it pretty obvious that I believe Rykard was spiriting away nobles from Leyndell.
Bro is actually just the CIA. Unironically, the CIA. That's why he's not so entwined with all the other ones, like in the lore as much. He's actually the Secret Service. Every time there's a noble of some shit that seems a little bit sus, he just ends up in the Volcano Manor getting impaled by fucking candlesticks.
To torture at the Volcano Manor.
Yikes. See, this is how you make a horrifying villain. Yeah, Voldemort, Nagini, kill him. What, Voldemort? Well, you're so evil. What's your defining feature? I am very white. I am a white man.
On behalf of Leyndell. I believe this happened during his tenure at Leyndell as Praetor, not after the Shattering when he abandoned the capital. But is there actually any explicit evidence of Rykard controlling the Volcano Manor while he was still serving Leyndell before the Shattering? Well, yes, but it's mostly so.
Well, I feel like one of the big pieces of evidence is the fact that you have a portrait of him in Volcano Manor from before he got snakified. And we know he got snakified after the Shattering. So we know he ran the place before the Shattering. I mean, I guess that would be my theory.
Circumstantial evidence. Here's a short list. First, it's implied from Morgoth's dialogue, at least, that Rykard was a praetor while he had a throne in Leyndell.
Well, he called him Praetor Rykard. And he looked at his throne. I mean, that's pretty circumstantial, but I feel that works.
So, there's that. Next, we know Rykard's inquisitors tortured nobles with a candlestick weapon that looks very much inspired by the fire of Mount Gelmir, so I think that's another piece of evidence that links the Volcano Manor
That one's pretty circumstantial, but okay.
with his praetorship in Leyndell. Then there's Rykard's Gelmir Knights, who have a crest of red feathers that symbolize Rykard's pedigree as Lord Radagon's son. There's a veneration here of Radagon of the Golden Order, and the knights were explicitly loyal to Praetor Rykard before he became the blasphemous Lord Rykard, so I think this is another small piece of evidence that suggests the Volcano Manor at Mount Gelmir was kind of a vassal state.
Yeah, the Volcano Manor was literally a CIA base for the Golden Order. I feel like that is abundantly clear. You have the knights that are loyal to Radagon here, which means that there were knights here from before the Shattering. So, very clear, Volcano Manor was always a CIA base for the Golden Order. Just after the Shattering, they kind of became their own little state and decided to commit heresy
to Leyndell. But admittedly, none of this is conclusive.
I like it, though.
However,
I'm with you.
We haven't yet discussed
Following.
the official's attire.
What? I love how he says something like that. Only this man could get away with this shit. But we haven't yet discussed the official's attire. And everyone busts a nut in their pants. Like, bro, dude, we're talking about clothes.
Official's attire is a piece of clothing we loot in an office of Leyndell. When worn, you realize it's a near-perfect match for the attire that Ghiza wears.
The officials' attire, the officials of Leyndell, of the Volcano Manor were Inquisitors.
And it also matches the attire of this nameless figure in a portrait that
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
hangs over the banquet hall that Ghiza invades. Yet again, we have a link, now between the officials of Leyndell and the Inquisitors of the Manor. So who is this portraited figure?
Great question.
Why is Ghiza wearing a similar set?
Maybe it's Ghiza.
And why is Ghiza's attire found in Leyndell?
I don't know, Ghiza is wearing his fucking Joshua Graham head covering thing. Bro's the burnt man. He's been baptized once in water and once in flame. He's out there ready to shove candlesticks up people's asses, okay? We don't ask him these questions.
The law of the
Look at this guy. Does this guy not look like Joshua Graham? Bro is just 2 steps away from saying that the flame almost killed him, but the flame inside him burnt brighter than the flame on the outside. Dude's just 2 steps away. Just whip out a Bible and tell you to killeth yourself. Like, honestly.
official's attire reads, grubby blue robe, worn by magisterial officials to carry out their grim tasks. Surveillance, executions,
Yikes.
gruesome rituals. The darkest duties drive the wheels of mankind.
Shit, that's a crazy line too. Holy crap. The darkest duties drive the wheels of mankind. That really implies that this is dirty work, but someone's gotta do it. Like, that is what it's saying, you know? And that definitely implies that this is a CIA base. This actually is just here working for the Golden Order. And yeah, I got this guy over here with his Joshua Graham mask, and he's sitting down. He's like, Gentiles be damned. I will act as God's hand to smite those heretics.
To loot this item, we have to access a lift to the east of Leyndell.
Alright.
Here, right on the border of these forbidden lands, and halfway up the elevator, there's a hidden path that leads towards a
I don't think I've ever gotten there. I don't think I've ever seen this.
small office. And
I 100%ed this game, by the way. I got all the achievements. I've collected all the legendary artifacts and legendary weapons and legendary summons. This is the only game on Steam that I've actually completed every achievement for. Okay, that goes to show how much I love this game. And I still have no idea what the lore is for any of these guys. Well, I'm starting. I got the timeline. I got the basic demigod lore. We're doing the blasphemous route now. You let me know, baby.
that's where we find the body of one who previously wore this attire.
Bye.
Ahead of them is the small room, one that's quite well furnished, and it's here presumably that this official would have furtively administered their dark duties, which again included surveillance, executions, and gruesome rituals.
Dude, this background music is just starting to really get under my skin, not gonna lie.
Given the location, these tasks would have been done in the service of Leyndell, you'd think. Incidentally, this is also where we loot the Blade of Calling, the same dagger that Melina wields.
Never mind, I have been there because I do have this weapon. I'm just saying, it turns out I have been there. Let's go.
Which was given to one who set out on a journey to fulfill her duty long ago. Perhaps the implication here is that this hidden office of Leyndell was involved with Melina's own grim storyline. But
That is weird, that's true. I didn't even think Melina could have had a connection to the blasphemous. Dude, she committed the ultimate blasphemous act. She lit the tree on fire, right? Like, she committed the ultimate heresy and blasphemy. In the entirety of the Elden Ring world. So I guess there could easily be a connection between her and Rykard. That's not so far off.
that's probably the topic for another video. The big deal here is that Inquisitor Ghiza also wears the official's attire,
cook
which
'em.
links him, an Inquisitor of Rykard, to the magisterial officials, just like this one, who drive the wheels of mankind behind the scenes in Leyndell with their surveillance, executions, and rituals.
Yeah.
Thus, as befits a Praetor, I think it's fair to assume that Rykard and his Inquisition really were involved with the governance of Leyndell.
No doubt. He was on the council in the throne room. His people are all these Inquisitor, surveillance, torture pieces of shit. All right? There is no doubt in my mind that this dude was the head of a CIA torture center in the middle of nowhere. This guy's gonna end up on an Oompaville tier list for CIA war crimes at some point. Like, there is no doubt in my mind.
On a deeper level. But the shadow cast by these officials doesn't just cover Leyndell and the Volcano Manor. I think the origins of their attire and their order...
If he says, like, something, he's gonna pull something out of his ass. He's gonna say, the mountaintops of the giants. And you're gonna be like, what the fuck? That has literally nothing to do with anything. You know what I'm saying?
Can actually be traced to the Shaded Castle and the Marais, who occupy a nearby...
Where's that? Oh, no, I know where that is. That's in the swamp area. I hate that place.
A township. The reason I speculate this is that Ghiza isn't just wearing the official's chest piece. In fact, every other slot is filled with the blood-soaked set instead.
Ooh.
These are nothing more than tightly wound bandages soaked through with blood, which hide the ghastly, festering body beneath. The clear...
And you're gonna tell me this isn't Joshua Graham from Fallout New Vegas? Are you serious? This dude is wearing these garbs because of his burnt, festering body underneath, okay? Tell me that this is not just the same character. This over here is Joshua Graham, all right? This guy is wearing all these robes because he's called the Burnt Man. He was burnt alive and thrown into the Grand Canyon, okay? He crawled out of the Grand Canyon, managed to survive somehow. Okay, tell me this is not exactly the same guy. You can't.
Clear implication here is that Inquisitor Ghiza is very, very sick. Indeed, a reveal of his face by Zully the Witch
literally the same guy
shows his scars, and a mere stone's throw away is the Shaded Castle, which explains it all.
I would have never in a million years picked that up.
The Castellans of the Shaded Castle are the Marais family, who have this long, storied history. We learn about it from the Marais Mask, which lets us know that these Castellans of the Shaded Castle have also served as executioners for generations.
Well, I guess the ultimate teamwork, gamers. It's the Mariah Carey House Marais. It's Mariah Carey, Lord of the Flame.
Mask is customarily worn by the head of House.
I love how it's executioners working hand in hand with the Inquisitors. I mean, it works out very nicely. It's like saying that the CIA in America is not actually working with people that are willing to do some underhanded cursed shit. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Marais. Similar to the blood-soaked wraps that Ghiza wears, I think it's a convenient way to hide the festering skin beneath, as it's well known that the sons of House Marais are all sickly born. We learn this from the Marais robe, which is attire that...
It really does look so much like the other one. Like, I don't know, it's wild that he's putting all these connections together.
...is almost identical to the official's attire.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. That's actually insane. It is wild how much work goes into these lore videos. See, how in the world would I have picked this up? First of all, I didn't wear robes on my playthrough in Elden Ring, okay? I wore freaking armor or I was completely naked. There is nothing in between, all right? When I'm thinking badass guys, I'm thinking of people that are either fighting completely naked with a pot on their head or big-ass space marine armor, okay? There is nothing in between. This is pussy robe shit.
The only difference is that it has this black mantle across the shoulders. And the Marais robe, combined with the mask, also looks strikingly similar to this portrait in the volcano.
I mean, the portrait does not look like the mask, to be honest. Like, this one has beard, and this one does not. But it is close. I see it.
No manner where Inquisitor Ghiza invade overlap here.
Yep.
But
no, 100%. 100%. Like, this is uncanny.
Summarize, House Marais are lords of the Shaded Castle, where they are sickly born and have served as executioners. The attire of their lords is almost identical to the attire of the officials who served Leyndell, who were also involved in executions, as well as surveillance and gruesome rituals. Therefore, I think it's fair to assume that House Marais aided Leyndell in these dark capacities.
I see that. And they were never officially connected to Leyndell, just like when the CIA works with some wild, despicable criminal shit. Like, they're not going to be officially tied together. There's going to be connections here and there, but there's not going to be, like, an official document proving that the United States government is working with these illegal bands of bullshitters, right? So the same way, you're going to have these connections, but not like House Marais is directly connected to... That's actually insanely good writing. Like, it's crazy to me how good the story is and world building is, despite the fact that you'll never pick any of this up as you play the game. This is what I love about subtle storytelling in video games. There is so much there, but it doesn't tell it to you. It just puts you in the world to figure it out. Just like you are in this real world, and you are not given the game plan of all the cringe shit, secret bullshit, conspiracy garbage that goes on, and you have to put that together. It's so good. It makes the worlds feel so much more real. When it's not like, you walk through a hallway and you find an audio log of someone who should be, running for his life, and instead he decides to give you a little bit of a lore drop for some reason.
And since one of Praetor Rykard's Inquisitors also wears...
Dude, I can't believe we're still talking about the lore of this one random guy with the pizza cutter. How is this guy a relevant character? I just walked in and murked him every single playthrough. Like, it's wild to me.
The Leyndell officials set and is sick with blood-soaked manchettes and a portrait nearby that looks like a Marais noble. I also think it's fair to assume that this Inquisitor and maybe others were not only loyal to Leyndell, but originally hailed from the Shaded Castle.
Yeah, the Shaded Castle is not necessarily connected to Leyndell, at least not publicly.
How?
Me too. It adds so much to the world. It adds so much to how the world was governed before the Shattering. Like, what's so wild is all this lore is here in an aspect that doesn't even matter anymore. You know that? Like, that's crazy. None of this is even relevant now. It was only relevant before the Shattering, but it paints a picture as to who Rykard was before the Serpent devoured him.
Geographically, that story plays out. The Shaded Castle is a part of Altus Plateau after all, so of course the Marais family would be assimilated by the local superpower and become a part of the Leyndell nobility.
And they let them, in exchange for their services doing the dirty work and shit behind the scenes, they let them retain their own royal family. They let them... That's so crazy! The superpower of the region, Leyndell, the Golden Order, they let them maintain some sort of bureaucracy of their own, and they let them maintain their own strength because they made a trade with them to commit war crimes on their behalf. God, this is crazy.
Nobility as the age of the Erdtree began. Indeed, the attire of the Marais and the officials also closely matched that of the consort's robe and the upper class robe, revealing the higher status of these folk.
Aren't you excited for when Disney inevitably buys FromSoft and is like, all right, we're doing the fucking Star Wars acolyte treatment to this shit? Like, there's so much love baked into this world. It's insane.
So we think these Leyndell officials were tasked with surveilling the rest of the noble populace, and I like to imagine that they invited many nobles, particularly ones they were investigating, to the Volcano Manor to dine or die, perhaps with the same sort of letters that we receive. Upon arrival, the nobles are received by the proprietress
it's Iron Mouse
of the house, and they marvel at the drawing room, a place that's designed to receive and entertain guests. There's a huge round table here, a gorgeous dining room upstairs.
My brother.
Entertain guests. There's a huge round table here.
This is not a round table. My guy, listen, your lore is good. Your geometry, absolute dog shit. No offense, Vati. You make good stuff, but like, wow, dude.
Here, a gorgeous dining room upstairs, a living room to the side, and even smaller, more intimate rooms that guests can retire to. However, a couple of these rooms hide a secret, and it's that they have illusory walls that lead to a dungeon and a world of torture and pain.
Bro, that fucking hissing scared the shit out of me. I was not ready for that.
For the Volcano Manor is merely a facade, and these rooms likely exist for the express purpose of
killing people and torturing them flaying their skin and removing their fingernails, making them eat their own shit.
Spiriting nobles away.
All right, whatever.
For interrogation. So we've established that...
Right, they invite the noble to the Volcano Manor, it all looks cool, and they pull them through an illusory wall to just torture the fuck out of them. Honestly.
Rykard's Inquisition was deeply involved
Don't expect Rykard's Inquisition.
in surveillance, questioning, and justice. And because of this, you'd think Rykard would have been exposed to the most cardinal sins of the populace. So I wonder, is it possible that these blasphemous ideas started to get through to him?
Damn!
Did Rykard
Interesting theory.
spy an element of truth in their words? There is a portrait of the Erdtree.
I don't know. I feel like absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? Like, I feel like he's here doling out his own sense of justice, working for the greater will, for the age of the Erdtree, as a hand to swat down the heretics. And I think that someone that is in a position like that will eventually recognize that the shattering happens, that he has a great rune, that he has access to now this serpent that can give him all sorts of power, he will take that power. He will say, I am justice. I don't know. It's wild that this is like an actual Game of Thrones level political plot going down, just completely in the background of Elden Ring, without even talking about it.
Burning, hanging in Volcano Manor. So I wonder...
Damn! True! How did he see this? How did he know this? Well, he's also the blasphemous, right? Rykard is a blasphemer. And this is the ultimate blasphemy. It's heresy!
For example, if he started to...
I don't know, man. My Serpent Hunter is charged with 100% vengeance, and I'm gonna kick your ass for the Emperor!
believe in the visions that the prophets kept on having about the Erdtree on fire. If we imagine that...
It's true, he used all of their all the blasphemy of all the nobles and prophets and pieces of shit that he tortured and killed, and he utilized them to paint a picture for his ascension to power. That is such an insanely cool character motivation and plot point.
Rykard was exposed to all of these blasphemies, perhaps it's not so ironic to think that this Justicia would eventually become the most blasphemous of them all.
Look at this man, look at this dude! You know how there's a very common Lovecraftian sentiment that in my incredible research into the Lovecraftian mythos, because as you know, I, Lord Nuxanor, will consume all lore. We just did a whole Lovecraft deep dive. The King in Yellow, very famous Lovecraft-style book, is all about this idea that The King in Yellow is a play, and if you read this play, it will drive you mad in one way or another. It will change you. It will change you. And that's kind of what seems like it happened with Rykard. Like, unlike every other major deity or demigod in this world that's somehow perverted in some way by some cosmic horror, like, I don't know, Rot for Millennia or Blood for Moog or the Endless Will or whatever it's called, for the Greater Will for Marika, it seems like these ideas of blasphemy are the slowly but surely changing him. Just by reading The King in Yellow, it made him a different person. Slowly but surely, these ideologies of blasphemy and heresy seeped out of them, seeped out of the very bodies and souls of the people that he tortured and killed, and somehow affected him. The snake is the most iconic blasphemous creature in the history of the world, right? Think of the the Garden of Eden. The serpent convinces Eve to eat from the tree, right? Like, the idea of a serpent is so tied together with blasphemy and free will, and it's kind of seeping in. It's telling him, dude, you, Rykard, you are not free. You are an agent of the Erdtree just like everyone else. And it somehow managed to wake up this idea of heresy and blasphemy that surrounded him, and by osmosis, it warped him into who he became. That is true eldritch horror. And I love that Elden Ring was actually able to put this in. You know me, I overanalyze stuff. My guy Vati, he says the lore stuff. That's his thing. But this is such insane writing, just as far as a cosmic horror story. And the more Elden Ring lore I learn about, the more I realize that Elden Ring really is just a cosmic horror masterpiece. And people tell me Bloodborne is somehow even better. God, I can't wait to do Bloodborne lore.
What's more, the current Elden Lord of Leyndell, Radagon, had abandoned Rykard's mother.
Radagon, the one boob.
And left her a broken woman. Now I'm just speculating here, but perhaps this betrayal to marry Marika in Leyndell didn't sit right with Renalla's own children. Luckily for
Alright, good theory.
Rykard, another of his siblings, was harboring resentment towards the Golden
Ranni. Wait, did he secretly team up with Ranni?
Order, and she planned to do something about it. According to Roger, Ranni orchestrated the Night of the Black Knives, a plot that allegedly was the catalyst for the
Why is he saying allegedly? Dude, you're not gonna get sued by Lunar Princess Ranni, okay? Bro's covering his bases. He talks about this the same way I talk about YouTube drama.
Shattering of the Elden Ring, since it resulted in the death of a demigod. To orchestrate something is to plan or coordinate all of the elements, and Ranni wasn't acting alone. She had help. First and foremost, there was the assistance of the
E.G. and Blythe.
Black Knife Assassins, who used black knives infused with death to murder Godwyn the Golden.
Bro.
Then she might have had help in the forging of the Rune of Death into knives, which we speculate could have required E.G., a blacksmith. Then there's the matter of the theft of the Rune of Death itself, which Ranni herself takes credit for. But one thing I feel that it's easy to miss is that Rykard might have helped with her plot as well.
Okay. What? That is a major, major point. I don't know how on earth he's gonna read this into the story. That might be one of the most character-turning moments of all time.
The Blasphemous Claw is an item we receive from one of Rykard's recusants, and it reads, "A slab of rock engraved with traces of the Rune of Death can deflect the power of the Black Blade. On the night of the dire plot, Ranni rewarded Praetor Rykard with these traces."
It actually says that in the item description? That's crazy.
Should the coming trespass one day transpire, they would serve as a last resort foil, allowing Rykard to challenge the Black Blade, the Black Beast of Destined.
Rykard and Malekith might have fought? That... Wow. Oh god, that is crazy.
Death. So it is that we learn Ranni rewarded her brother at the end of her plot to murder Godwyn the Golden. The word reward seems to imply that
he helped out. That Rykard helped out in the Shattering, the most pivotal moment of Elden Ring history.
Rykard had some part in all of this, right? And that maybe he did something worthy of recompense. So what do we think that Rykard could have conceivably done to help with the Night of the Black Knives? One of my favorite theories comes from Loki, who brought up Rykard's...
Not the Ori emo profile picture. Not the Ori emo profile picture. No! No! You see, I like Elden Ring because of the relationship between the siblings.
magisterial duties in Leyndell, since Ranni's forces would have needed to break into the city to murder Godwyn the Golden, and perhaps even to steal a fragment of the Rune of Death in the first place. It makes sense that Praetor Rykard would have been a good ally to have in this moment.
But this is very speculative. Like, come on, I want to see some meat. I want some meat and potatoes.
He likely had authority over law and order here, so perhaps Rykard arranged for security to be lax on the Night of Black Knives.
I don't know. I would think that Godwyn ran the law and order of Leyndell, right? He had all the lightning knives that fought the dragons. He kind of ran the people in Leyndell. Rykard ran the CIA Volcano Manor shit. I feel like this is very speculative. I would like more meat and potatoes.
Or perhaps he gave Ranni's crew intel about the city's defenses.
Alright.
If you subscribe to the idea that Rykard's praetorship involved control of the army like some of the old Roman praetors had.
I mean, I would not think so. Again, I would think that that was all Godwyn's job. What was Godwyn doing? He was the lightning guy the same way all these guys were like the lightning guys that fought the dragons, that got the Fortisax powers.
Then that definitely would have helped as well. Of course, how Rykard earned his reward is very open to speculation.
Yeah, all right. I'm with you. I'm sure he must have contributed to get a reward strong to deflect the Black Blade. Dude was awesome and must have contributed, but I don't know how.
But
unless maybe his contribution was a lot more basic. Maybe his contribution was, he's the CIA. It was his job to investigate the plot of the Black Knives. And he just didn't investigate. He just kind of left it open. He was the intel for the Golden Order, and he did not do his job by leaking the intel. Maybe that's what he did. Maybe she just paid off his silence. I feel like that's much more likely.
we definitely know that he was deemed worthy of this reward, and that gives us a lot to work with. For example, it also tells us that Ranni knew about Rykard's blasphemous intentions before the Shattering.
True. Ranni seemed to know a lot of things about a lot of people. She made a lot of friends with everybody, and I think Ranni might be the most manipulative character in this entire story. I know we didn't do the Age of Stars lore yet. 10,000 likes and I will. Subscribe and I will. But I know we didn't do the Age of Stars lore yet, but dude, Ranni is mega manipulative. She knew everything about everyone and just used different people as tools. She used Celivis, she used Blythe, she used E.G. All these guys ended up dying by the end of her quest line, but she didn't care because it ushered in the Age of Stars. I don't know, man. We'll see what that's all about.
Hell, maybe merely harboring blasphemous thoughts was worthy of a reward in Ranni's eyes.
Shit.
And
what
she gave was a valuable reward, the Blasphemous Claw. It wards off Malekith's black blade of destined death, which posed the single greatest threat to the demigods.
True. It can actually kill them. It can actually kill them. Ranni is just Princess Bubblegum. True.
Especially to one as blasphemous as Rykard. One thing I kind of love about Rykard is that as blasphemous as he...
Big snake boy. You like the snussy? You like some snussy? You watched Monster Musume and then you're like, oh shit, Rykard?
was. Even in his later years, he still keeps a portrait of his brother Radagon hanging in the Volcano Manor. Radagon, by all accounts...
Yeah, Radagon was loyal to the Golden Order, right? But he still loved him for some reason, I guess. Listen, family's family, you know? Ultimately, family's family. Listen, I get into my beef with my brother time and time again, but ultimately, I love the guy, and I would do anything for him. And he would do anything for me. Even though sometimes he's incredibly annoying. And God, do I wish that he would shut up sometimes. I love him.
Once was a bit of a Golden Order fanboy, with armor that symbolized Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, and the red hair of Radagon, which he was keen to show off. You'd think then that this would be a painting worthy of being taken down. Hell, there's literally a painting of a burning Erdtree in the same building, and yet the portrait remains. Perhaps there was a kinship between these, the children of Renalla, that superseded their differences.
Again, family's family. He didn't ally himself with Radagon, but ultimately he loved him because, well, Radagon's his brother. I think that makes a lot of sense. That works. It doesn't need to be some sort of crazy alliance and rebellion shit.
What I'm trying to say is that I think Rykard really loves his
family.
Oh, dude, no,
Family, join my fear together.
So, in general, though, kinships between the demigods generally went out the door when the Shattering occurred, as Marika's remaining kin claimed the great runes of the shattered Elden.
My children.
How do you know the words of Marika, huh? Dude, please tell me there's a Melina lore video. She is easily one of the most mysterious characters in this.
With words such as
spread thy cheeks and prepare to piss. No lore vid yet on Melina? Come on, bro.
These, and with the power split to all the demigods with the great runes, it's clear that Marika was laying the groundwork for a greater descent and a more pronounced Shattering War. Of course, many did go to war for their demigod's unique ambition. Godric the Golden tried and failed.
Did he call him Godric the Golden? Was he known as Godric the Golden? Just because dude said, I am the Lord of all that is golden. Just because he said that one thing one time, he was actually known as Godric the Golden? Bro, more like Godric the Garfield, am I right? No, more like Godric the Grafted. Dude, come on, dude.
Failed.
Dude, this guy sucked. Can we admit that this guy fucking sucked? I love how in the original trailer for Elden Ring, they showed this guy and everyone was like, oh my god, look at this guy. But he was like such a pussy.
To take back the capital, and he was repelled by Morgoth, the new grace-given Lord of Leyndell.
Oh, I didn't realize. Morgoth kicked his ass?
And
nice.
many troops would have died in this battle.
Nice.
Radagon's Redmane Knights also clashed with Melania's Cleanrot Knights, which
kicked their asses, because those Cleanrot Knights are annoying as shit.
the Scarlet Bloom in Caelid, and when the war efforts were spent, many demigods retreated back to their domains.
Oh, look at this guy.
To lick their wounds.
To fuck some dragon corpses. To get that dragon number on Rule 34 up a little bit.
Essentially. Rykard, for his part, clearly doubled down on Mount Gelmir as his domain during this time.
Makes sense. That's where he had his whole CIA operation base. Like, it makes a lot of sense that he would decide to cozy up over there.
And between all of the demigod ambitions on display during the Shattering, I think Rykard's would have stood out for one unique reason, and it's that he didn't want to wrest control of the Golden Order.
He wanted to tear it down.
No, he wanted to rise against the Erdtree and tear it all down.
Yeah! He was a blasphemer. But again, Ranni also didn't want to become a leader of the Golden Order. Melania and Mikola didn't seem to either. They wanted to start their own shit. Mohg definitely wants to start his own shit. But what's so interesting is, it seems like all of them are still following some sort of order. Like, even Melania is possessed by the Rot God to try to impose the order of Rot on the world instead of the order of the Greater Will. And it seemed like Mohg wanted to impose the order of the Formless Mother over the Greater Will, or over the world instead of the Greater Will. They are each trying their best to replace the current order of the lands between with their own order, which is brilliant. Rykard is unique that he is not following some sort of outer god. Unlike every single one of them that has some sort of outer god's influence, astral, cosmic, godly projection, Age of Stars, Age of Blood, Age of Frenzy, Rykard does not want that. He just wants heresy. He wants freedom. Just like the serpent in the Bible, he wants free will. He is fighting against gods in this story. And that is, it's so fascinating. Dude, I can't believe this. Rykard is actually becoming one of my favorite characters in Elden Ring right now. Oh my god.
Dead.
The Erdtree blessed the Tarnished with grace, but it was all too meager in the face of the enormity of their task.
True.
The Tarnished were forced to scavenge, squabbling for crumbs, like the Shard-bearers vying for power in the wake of the Shattering. Our Lord, indignant, has refused.
Yeah, he ain't playing this game. He has a whole other game plan.
Scurry about, fighting over what miserly scraps they allow us. If the Erdtree, and indeed the very gods, would debase us,
The very gods together.
then we are willing to raise the banner of resistance,
Yeah.
even if it means heresy.
Oh, dude, I need some Godskin duo lord shit too, because what the hell are these guys doing just waltzing around?
We at the Volcano Manor, under Lord Rykard, have sworn no rest until
Yeah, you're under Lord Rykard.
it is done.
Before release, Miyazaki has gone on record stating, "As for Rykard, in a way, I feel that his blasphemy represents one of the strongest wills in Elden Ring."
Interesting. Because I think that he is, unlike every single one of them, that is supported by some cosmic god. This guy, he alone stands for something else. It is one of the greatest will. It's a will so strong it's fighting against the outer gods. Every single one of the demigods that is supporting either Rot or Blood or Order or anything, all of them are ultimately being supported by a cosmic entity. He alone stands against them all. What honestly pretty crazy cool. I'm not even gonna lie, pretty freaking crazy cool. Bro is a heretic through and through.
To put it in grandiose terms, I find his determination and commitment almost enviable.
Shit, that's crazy. That's crazy. An enviable level of commitment. He's committed so hard. He's up again, taking gods on. It's true he has the serpent deity on his side, but even with the serpent deity, compared to the cosmic horrors, what a fantastic character, dude. Honestly, I'm loving my lore dives. It's crazy.
So, even Miyazaki sounds pretty sold on Rykard. I imagine his troops were as well. Indeed, both descriptions within the Gelmir Knight sets mention their loyalty to Rykard and his lofty ambitions. These descriptions, as well as dialogue from Banal and the ex-Gelmir Knight, all mention Rykard's dignity and worth. But of course, it would all go to hell in the end.
Yep, because absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's true, it's inspiring to be this blasphemous in some way, but ultimately, he was consumed.
A fine mess. But how else could it end? When daddy ambitions head over heels courting Lady Blasphemy.
Oh my god, this guy.
So this is Rykard at his height. Now let's talk about the fall.
Fuck, crazy. Crazy, what a wild storyline. What an insane character. Rykard the Blasphemous. It's together time! And then he proceeded to swallow the gods together and together everywhere.
At some point, Rykard delved deeper into the mountain, and what he found would change him forever. For Mount Gelmir contains truly ancient things, artifacts and religion, and a creature that
My dad.
history barely talks about. The most important description comes from...
Yeah, history barely talks about it. I don't know how he fits into the lore of this story at all.
the Serpent God's curved sword, a weapon that was formerly used to offer up sacrifices.
Based.
It was a tool of a forgotten religion, once practiced on Mount Gelmir, and considering the sword's design is a serpent's jaw that consumes the vitality of enemies, we can guess who the sacrifices were being made to.
True.
This culture of sacrifice helps us to explain another ancient discovery Rykard made within Mount Gelmir: hexes. Typically in From Software games, a hex is a type of death magic, which often manifests as a skull flying towards enemies. In Elden Ring, this tracks as well. The death hexes of the Deathbirds, for example, summon a horde of vengeful spirits, as does Rykard's Rancor. To be even more
I hate that spell. That spell sucks so much.
specific though, hexes in Elden Ring all seem to involve sacrifice in some way. The Staff of the Guilty talks about this. It's
I have never used any hexes in Elden Ring. I'll be completely honest.
a heretical staff.
I guess, there's one item in Elden Ring, one little fucking sword, and there's a whole historic culture and lore for this shit. Actually insane. No, but what's so interesting here is, it seems like all these different hexes and spells all do attach themselves to drawing the power from some sort of god. Like the gravity sorceries, they all draw from the star god or whatever. The cosmic sorceries all draw from that. The moon sorceries of Renalla, they draw from the cosmic entity, the moon. And the dark moon draws from Ranni's dark moon. Just like all the blood spells absorb from the blood god. And all the frenzy spells draw from the frenzy flame. The hexes draw from the serpent here. And I never put that together somehow. All right.
Fashioned from a smouldering withered sapling with a little creature impaled on the end.
Bro just decided to keep the little creature. Dude, if I ever impale a little creature, I ain't keeping that shit. That shit's going in the trash ASAP.
The creature is a sacrifice that has had its blood turned into red glintstone.
Nice.
And the staff says that this process of sacrifice is similar to hex magic. This sacrificial process might also explain
I offer this sack of rice.
in why hexes manifest as
Bro, Stephen He is out there punching the air right now. Failure!
rancorous spirits. If you were being sacrificed, I imagine that would put you in a pretty vengeful mood.
Yeah, honestly, being sacrificed is one of my least favorite things. On the war crime tier list, as you know, we're working really hard on the war crime tier list. It's really coming together nicely. So far we have cannibalism in C tier. I'm going to stand by this. Cannibalism, not so bad on the war crime tier list. Cannibalism, C tier. Human sacrifice, that's easily B tier. Easily B tier on the war crime tier list.
After death, But with the age of the Erdtree usurping so many prior cultures of death, it seems hexes haven't been seen in the world of Elden Ring for quite some time.
Interesting.
For instance, do you recall fighting necromancer Garrus?
I do not at all recall that. Thank you for bringing it up.
He's this sage who fights you in this cave at the base of Mount Gelmir. Garrus is described as a heretical sage, and his heresy
I do remember this guy. Yeah.
is clearly that he's
He was really, really weak. I dumpster fucked this man. I turned him into a fucking cum sock.
researching death rituals that
He's out there waving his shit in the air. He got instantly kabloobered. Bro got smashed.
run counter to those of the Erdtree.
Because these spell hex thing, they don't actually do any damage. They bump into you and you're like, oopsie, and then you kill him.
One of Garrus's achievements is the Rancor sorcery.
Yeah.
Once thought lost, this ancient death hex was rediscovered by the necromancer Garrus.
Alright.
Incidentally, his little snail buddies in this fight are actually snakes, who are merely
I did not notice that. I thought they were just like the snails.
wearing skulls
That's cool. I thought they were just snails. Nice.
as their shell. They're similar
Really cool detail.
to the spirit caller snails, who are also snakes that
I don't know how I never noticed that, but okay, I'm seeing it now for sure.
are able to summon spirits. I don't think it's a coincidence that all of these snakes are so death-themed. I think the Great Serpent
Is very death-themed himself.
and its kin were a big part of the sacrificial culture that existed in Mount Gelmir long ago. And I don't think it's a coincidence either that Garrus rediscovered an ancient death hex so close to Mount Gelmir, especially since Rykard himself would go on to rediscover ancient hex.
Look at the... My favorite part about Rykard, just as the gameplay, forget the lore for a second, the absolute scope, the sphere, the majesty of this fight is insane. You walk in, and there he is in the center of a massive pool of lava, raining hell upon you. Look at this. You look like you walked into Dante's Inferno when you fight this guy. You walk into nuclear apocalypse.
Hexes at Mount Gelmir as well. As a child of Renalla, Rykard clearly had a knack for sorceries, and
Bro just dropped a little orbital grenade in the middle of this.
he developed many from the magma of
Hey,
Mount
look at it. Fucking... I'm sorry.
Gelmir. The magma shot sorcery reads, after discovering the ancient hexes of Gelmir, Rykard, son of Queen Renalla, brought
I'm just saying the magma shot always looks like it's just like fucking fire cum. Just bloop, just falls on the ground and it's all yucky and... Anyway, moving on. No one needs to know.
them back into
All right.
practical
Editor, cut that part out, actually.
use as new forms of sorcery. In this sense, magma sorceries
Look
are
at this. This isn't someone that he's been gooning to... He's been editing Pokemon's content for like a good two weeks now. He's been gooning the whole time, and then it's just...
kind of a type of
like,
hex magic.
and Pokemon's like, yo, why is my footage coming so late? And he's like, listen.
The volcano
I'm
is
busy right now. I'm sorry the footage is late. I'm sorry.
the Great Serpent's home. Magma is its aspect, so maybe lava sorceries, being a type of hex magic, has something to do with all of the sacrifices that had been made to the serpent god here. So we've established that magma is an aspect of the serpent, and so were hexes, but there's a third aspect.
The poison?
Poison.
All right.
The man-serpents inflicted,
I
as
hate those man-serpents.
does the coil shield, the
Yeah.
serpent bone blade,
Dude, the weapon design is so cool in this game.
and the serpent bow and arrows. Plus,
I never noticed the arrows were serpents. Okay.
of course, the god-devouring serpent itself spits a great deal of poison at you during its boss fight.
He does do
Considering
that, yeah.
this, I wonder if Mount Gelmir is somehow the source of the poison that has pooled at the Shaded Castle.
Cool theory. We know they're connected.
Now, you could argue that
I hate these guys. This is the worst From Software enemy of all time. Bro, they did not need to cook these up. I felt like they could have released Elden Ring without cooking up the Royal Revenant.
this poison here is different, and that this is more of a poison that's born of stagnant, unmoving water.
Now, this poison, this is Nurgle. That poison? Nah, that's something else.
But I don't think that's the case. I think there's a couple of things that suggest this poisoned water comes from Mount Gelmir, perhaps even from the Great Serpent itself.
All right.
To start, there's actually a link between the Marais and the Serpent that I don't think many people know about.
I don't.
The cut description of the serpent arrow reads, "Arrow carved to resemble a slender serpent, its fangs adorbed."
Dude, what a cool arrow design, right? With this little tip over here that you put on the bow. Dude, it's crazy.
With a fast-acting venom. These arrows were used by the people of the Shaded Castle, making them all the more hated by their enemies.
Yep, that's a connection. That's a connection between the Shaded Castle and the Great Serpent.
The serpent
I
bow
see
then
it.
elaborates, stating that it was used by heretical assassins.
Yep, sounds about right. That's who the Volcano Manor has been working with the whole time.
And then the release version of the serpent bow specifies that these assassins were known as the Formless Serpents, with a bow that
Alright.
supernaturally infuses any arrow with poison. So yeah, there was once a lot of overlap between the Marais and the Serpent. I looked up this cut description to see if anyone else had commented on this connection, and I stumbled upon some comments by Reddit user Marais, who
coming in hot.
had made some excellent
Dude, I respect the shit out of the crediting that Vati does. Like, he really credits people. Like, even if it's like one random Reddit comment from a random dude with 2 upvotes, this dude will credit him. That's integrity right there. That's integrity.
excellent observations about how serpent worship might have influenced the culture of the Marais family. I'll leave a link to their ideas in the description, but basically they argue that the Marais might have been a part of the sacrificial execution rituals that we know took place at Mount Gelmir.
Okay, I think that's a stretch. From my understanding, the sacrificial rituals for the snake happened way before the current age of the Erdtree. Like, thousands of years earlier. Before even the age of the dragons, you know? The dragons ruled and were Elden Lord and stuff of this place long before the current era of Marika and everybody. I thought the snake was even older than the dragons. So I would think that when the snake was actually around is when there was this whole weird religion of sacrifice. Unless it was their ancestors that participated in this. But I feel like that's a long time ago, man.
In the ancient past, since the Marais culture in the current age also involves execution as a family tradition.
Hey,
tradition.
dude, now this is a cool family tradition. I don't understand. The Marais family tradition? Oh yeah. Marais family tradition? Execution. All right? My family tradition? Gefilte fish. We are not the same, okay? We are not the same.
That was eventually put to use on behalf of Leyndell. And to add some more support of my own to this theory, the sacrificial blade, once used for offerings to the serpent, is a weapon that's meant to be wielded by humans, so it would make sense that humans...
Whoever is doing these sacrifices actually was a human, someone who could grip this blade. That is a very, very good observation. A really good observation.
Maybe the Marais clan might have once been in charge of such sacrificial executions.
And it just, over the years, they forgot what their sacrifices were even for. Like, as the years progressed, as time went on, eventually they remembered that they were executing people, but they forgot what their religion was. They forgot what god they were worshiping. And eventually sacrifices turned into execution as a tradition. That's really, really interesting, how it might have evolved over the hundreds of years.
Again, all of this is cut content, but I think it might give us a valuable insight into what the devs were thinking when they designed the Marais family. Anyway, to bring things back around to my original point, I think all of this is at the very least decent proof that the poison in this environment
is related to snake.
Evokes the Great Serpent, and I think it's decent proof that this poison probably flows from Mount Gelmir, which is the Great Serpent's home.
I mean, it's right at the base of Mount Gelmir. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Fucking poison waterfall, because nothing in any FromSoft Dark Souls game can have water. Why isn't there a nice wholesome stream? Oh no, don't worry. The Lake of Rot, the Vat of Snot, the Swamp World, Oh my god, this is like in Rick and Morty. Morty wants to go to Boob World, and Rick is like, don't worry guys, we're going to Shitland, woo!
home. This brings us to Seewater Cave.
Sure, it brings us to Seewater Cave. Yeah, that's where I would go to. How is he making these connections? Like, this is insane.
Brimming with poison, with a name.
Oh, is this the place that poisons you as you enter, and then you literally cannot get out? No, that's rot. That's a rot cave I'm thinking of.
That implies poisoned water is seething and flowing underground. It's located here on the northeastern side of Mount Gelmir, and the most curious thing about this cave, I think, is that it's located directly below a minor Erdtree.
That is... God, dude, the geography in this game is insane. The map is so good. Yes, and right below the minor Erdtree that has been perverted by the Great Snake is the Seewater Cave. Fits perfectly. Insane level design. I don't know how that popped up.
And this minor Erdtree is dead.
Yeah,
so
right.
I'd like to propose
that the snake killed it. I don't know. The minor Erdtrees are worshipping the Golden Order, right? Obviously, the minor Erdtrees are all connected to the Great Erdtree. This one specifically was overtaken by blasphemy and therefore died. Fits well.
a bit of a theory. I think this tree might be dead, at least partly because of the poison at its roots. I think the volcano...
I mean, I think it's snake time. It's because they worship the snake over here. They don't worship. They don't... Remember how I said... I think I said it even in the beginning of this specific lore dive. I said that in Elden Ring, names give things power. It's our perception of things that actually do give them some level of power. I think that just like... we perceive Radagon as Radagon sometimes. We perceive Rykard as Rykard sometimes. We perceive Marika as Marika sometimes. Our perception of these things give them power. So it is the worship in a specific area to the Erdtree that will give the minor Erdtree in that area power. The reason why this one is dead is because here they are blasphemers. Here they do not worship the Erdtree. So because they don't recognize the Erdtree, it's the ideology that killed the minor Erdtree. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just doing my lore dive. I'm sure he's gonna have a different theory because mine is out there and very, very fitting into my idea of cosmic horror in this world. So I'm like looking at it through like a Lovecraft lens here. I'm sure he's gonna come up with something different.
Volcano Manor wanted this tree dead, and I think that this desecration of an Erdtree was the catalyst for the terrible war that would come to this region. So let me expand on that.
Okay, that's big.
First, what are the minor Erdtrees? Well, it seems
small creations of the Erdtree to keep spreading its greater will throughout the land. That's how I understand them.
They only came to exist after the Shattering. This is explained by the Golden Seed description, which reads, when the Elden Ring was shattered, these seeds flew from the Erdtree, scattering across the various lands as if life itself knew its end had come.
God, look how beautiful this map is. Every time, man.
Seed talismans go on to say that the Erdtree was once perfect and eternal, and thus it was believed that Erdtree seeds could not exist.
Interesting! Because of the Shattering, it became more mortal.
But exist they did.
Yeah.
Eventually growing into minor Erdtrees that spread the ailing tree's influence farther across the lands between. And at the feet...
Right, because we've learned that the Erdtree is like a parasite, right? It is an alien parasite on the planet.
...of minor Erdtrees, basins were set up in order to collect their crystallized tears, which physic chemists would then use to brew powerful concoctions.
Chemists in the real world, if you take one thing and knock it into another thing, it'll give over force and get the second thing to move at the same velocity as the first thing. Elden Ring chemists, literally making drugs. Based Elden Ring chemists, we move on.
And these minor Erdtrees, these offspring of the Erdtree, were defended by the Erdtree avatars and the Erdtree Guardians.
Okay, the Guardians, they're okay. They don't actually do anything at all. But the avatars, bro, there are way too many of them.
The avatars seem born of the tree itself and wield a ceremonial staff that depicts the Erdtree in its historic radiance.
Very nice.
They were determined to.
I especially like when you meet the 4,000th one of them just standing, camping out some hallway. It's like, oh, here I am walking into a hallway. Oh, don't worry, down from the sky drops this freaking Snorlax-sized tree.
Protect the withering Erdtree.
Elden Ring chemist, say my name! Real, based.
Offspring in the wake of the Elden Ring's shattering. The Guardians, too, are clearly part tree, although their tree-like aspect seems like it has blossomed over time instead.
Okay.
These were probably humans originally.
Yeah, that line always gets me. I hate when someone says these were probably humans originally. That line sucks. I've heard it so often from so many different places, different lore dives. Every time, get me out of here, bro. I don't ever want to hear that again. That was probably a human originally. God.
And their weapon says that they are known as experts in the art of combat. At some point, though,
all right, dude, I fought them. They were not experts in the art of combat. All right, they're experts in the art of tree, okay? I speak for the tree, and the tree says, fuck you. Chat, you guys are amazing.
They made what is now an ancient pact with the Erdtree, whereupon their deaths would lead not to destruction, but instead to renewed, eternal lives as guardians. The description asserts that it is said that the blood-red
Nux was also likely a human originally. Alright.
flowers blooming on their backs mark the senescence, or deterioration of.
Dude, look how their backs get blown out by these flowers.
I think that's a sly reference to how the Erdtree isn't really eternal, and thus.
Well, obviously not. You kill it. It's like, the best way to figure out if something is immortal? Well, if you kill it, it's not immortal.
Neither was their ancient pact. Incidentally, these guardians are perhaps proof that the Erdtree is capable.
Okay, sorry, we're upping the quality here.
Of rebirth.
Yeah.
Something the community has long speculated about, based on some murals found in-game. And
I love how it's like, yes, I'm gonna put all my eggs into this basket of this massive lore discovery because of a mural found in-game.
I say that they're proof of rebirth since their weapon description makes it clear that they had to die before they could be renewed as eternal minor Erdtree Guardians.
Dude, I love how every single enemy in the game is like so well designed.
But of all the minor Erdtrees to be renewed to guard, I wouldn't have wanted to guard the one at Mount Gelmir.
Yeah, because it's the stinky poo-poo place.
This one was growing right next to a faction that was
of heretics. A faction of heretics. And if Warhammer taught me anything, we gotta purge those bastards.
Becoming increasingly defined by their resistance to the Erdtree.
Yeah, because as we remember, the Erdtree is a parasite. It is an elder thing. It is an outer god entity crap that is literally sucking on to the orifice of the planet, okay? It's sitting there spreading its influence, and these people are blasphemers and heretics. These people are somehow not getting that mind control shit from the Erdtree. So if I was this Erdtree, I would also say fuck you.
And while fear of repercussion might have protected this minor Erdtree for a time, eventually its time ran out, and the Erdtree was desecrated and killed.
Damn.
Now, it might be a stretch to say that
Rip.
this minor Erdtree was poisoned intentionally, or even unintentionally.
I mean, you know my theory here. You know me, bro. I think that it's wills that keeps the Erdtree alive. It is the blasphemy of the location that killed the minor Erdtree. I don't think it's some guy walked up to there with rat poison and killed it. I legitimately think because of the seeping blasphemy and heresy in this area, it killed the Erdtree. Because the Erdtree is this ethereal, mind-controlling space virus that is meant to impose order on the world. So these people, as blasphemers, as heretics, these guys are rejecting order with their very will. And it's that will that killed the Erdtree. That's my theory. I don't know. That's my theory. I like that idea more because, again, I'm looking at this from much more of a Lovecraftian lens than a physical wars type lens. But it is also possible that Rykard just pissed on the tree and it died. Aram Agent Chat pointed that out, and I like that theory too.
By the poison at its roots in Seewater Cave, but there are Leyndell knights and scouts who have ventured into Seewater Cave, and while they...
Dude, even he didn't pick up the multiplayer symbol thing. Oh my god, what a legend.
Could just be sheltering here. I like to think they're here to investigate how the minor Erdtree died. Though I should be clear, this is largely my own headcanon. You can speculate on a few ways this minor Erdtree might have died. Okay. For example, maybe Rykard used the traces of the Rune of Death to bring down this Erdtree.
Maybe.
Since it's the unleashing of the Rune of Death that burns the actual Erdtree later in our timeline.
God, I love the visuals in this game.
So why not use a minor piece of destined death
to kill a minor Erdtree?
to burn a minor Erdtree?
Oh, he actually said that. Never mind.
Whatever the case, this minor Erdtree is dead, and all around it we find the aftermath of a horrific battle. So considering fire and...
I love it's like the aftermath of a battle. You have these flayed corpses hanging off crosses. Yeah, this doesn't look like a battle, alright? This looks like a massacre.
Burning an Erdtree would be a cardinal sin. I feel pretty convinced that the death of this minor Erdtree might have been the catalyst for this, what Gideon calls the most appalling battle in the history of the Shattering.
Yikes.
Now, Leyndell is all about defense, right? And
yeah, big-ass walls, fortifications... Yeah, the big defensive place, all right?
It's evidence that...
Same with Stormvale, the big fortresses.
It has successfully weathered many assaults upon its walls. It is said that the soldiers of Leyndell fight their battles defensively, and their purpose is to...
Hence the big annoying shields that constantly just block your attack before they poke you with the pointy end of a stick.
To protect that which deserves protection, and thus the shield always comes before the sword. The one exception to that, it seems, was the assault on Volcano Manor. Here,
honestly, that is a incredibly good observation. They are defensive at heart. They defend against attacks. That's what they do. Except for some reason, there was this whole weird barracks here by Volcano Manor from the actual Leyndell Knights. They are that much of a threat. I don't know if it's just because the minor Erdtree got obliterated, or if it's the seeping blasphemy that is literally threatening their entire order, but that's an incredible observation.
Leyndell actually launched an offensive. There are numbered sites of grace at Gelmir, called First Mount Gelmir Campsite, located here, and then there's 9th Mount Gelmir Campsite.
Wow, this was true, 9th campsite. I didn't even think of that, but that means that there were 9 barracks set up to create an assault on Volcano Manor. They were that much of a threat. And again, I think it's an ideological threat. I think because the ultimate enemy to the Erdtree's order is blasphemy and heresy. And if enough people actually subscribe to this blasphemous ideology, it would expunge the greater will from the lands between. But again, that is also just a theory.
Located here, and the fact that there were so many campsites clearly, I think, suggests a sort of slow progression in their campaign to assault Mount Gelmir. But the battle itself clearly took place here, leading up to the minor Erdtree, where there are mountains of the dead and the bodies of crucified giants and other folk.
Yeah.
It's a pretty grim scene.
I would say so. It's pretty,
The only note of brevity comes from the jar cannon, an experimental firearm brought to the assault on Volcano Manor, where it was discovered that no one knew how to use it.
No. They brought a gun to a knife fight, and they just couldn't figure out how to shoot it. They got Sneeko teaching them about clips instead of mags.
While that's kind
They all got vored by the Inquisitors.
of funny, the aftermath isn't. The dead are piled and rotting, and have been for quite a while.
Rip.
Bodies are even seen on both sides of a broken bridge here, and Assuming they didn't just throw half the bodies off this broken bridge for some reason, I feel like another logical conclusion to draw is that the war occurred so long ago and the bodies have been here for so long that a land upheaval broke the bridge in two and separated it with the bodies still upon it.
That is such a daunting picture. What an insane war this must have been.
We do learn from the Gelmir map that the land in this area has experienced such an upheaval, but please let me know if I'm missing something here.
No, I like that. I like that. It's such a cataclysmic battle. They couldn't even clean the corpses they piled so high. But again, I think that it's much more likely that this minor Erdtree got destroyed almost as a result of the blasphemy, and they attacked because of the blasphemy. I don't know if they attacked because they destroyed this minor Erdtree. I think it was their ideology that was the threat. It's like how communism threatened America, and then they started just murdering communists because they were cringe back in the day. Like that's the similar idea here. How this order, this lack of order, this anti-order of blasphemy was an actual threat to the greater will, the ultimate threat, honestly. And that's what caused this war, and that caused this minor to get assaulted. Could someone cancel this guy? He assaulted a minor?
Yeah. So, basically all of the living that fought on Rykard's side are dead and gone. But what about those who fought on his side but were never alive? These are the marionette soldiers, and they're commonly employed by sorcerers.
I hate these guys.
So, these soldiers likely belonged to
a little General Grievous ass looking piece of shit.
To Rykard, considering his heritage as Renalla's son. And they're the only ones that really fight on here now, since they're puppets.
Yeah, they're just sitting there, disengaged, waiting for someone to walk in.
They're uncaring of their master's blasphemy or the state of the battle.
I hate these guys, dude. I hate them. I hate them. They just sit there, they machine gun arrows at you. It's crazy.
Battlefield. A nearby sword gravestone comments
I was about to mention guts, yeah.
The assault on Volcano Manor. The squalid. The sick, the blasphemous, a wretched, unending war with no glory. The fact that the...
I don't know, it sounds pretty glorious to me, the way they freaking pushed off the entire might and weight of the Imperium against them just because they were one blasphemous boy.
Assault on Volcano Manor involved the squalid and the sick.
Look at this guy, dude! This is crazy.
Makes me think again of the serpent's...
You have to deal with that. How are you going to deal with that? The literal General Grievous moment. Bro, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi just standing here looking at General Grievous start flailing out like a schizo freak.
Poison. Human defenders of the manor in the current age do attack with poison pots.
So these pieces of shit standing up here. God damn it.
So
this is like when you blow your nose and throw the tissue at someone.
Not ridiculous to think that some sort of chemical warfare.
Dude, I love Elden Ring. Elden Ring is the only game in the world. It's like, you know how poison is annoying? Well, don't worry, because we also have rot. Well, don't worry, because we also have death blight. They're like, come on, dude. How many status conditions do you need?
Might have been used against the House of the Erdtree in this wretched, unending war. Speaking of which, the nearby grace references the nearby road of iniquity. Iniquity is a word that means immoral or grossly unfair behavior. And I think we experience the aftermath of that iniquity firsthand when we encounter this troll warrior. It's hard to say for sure which side this troll fought on, but I lean towards it fighting on Rykard's side since
it's still fighting on Rykard's side. It's literally guarding Volcano Manor.
Flanked by marionette soldiers.
And that.
Whatever the case though, this troll warrior has seen
frenzy time
and some shit.
Oh, that puts a light.
And now it has eyes that burn with the flames of frenzy.
Yeah, I never understood why there's a frenzy flame guy here by Rykard's palace.
Frenzy, as you might know from our Age of Despair video.
Oh, I didn't do that yet. Oh god, everyone's been telling me I needed to do the Try Not to Cry Age of Despair video. Oh, maybe we'll do that next if this one gets enough views. Remember the rule. If this one doesn't get enough views, I am binging all the rest of the Elden Ring lore myself, okay? I will consume all lore, whether you are here for that ride or not.
Is contagious, but it also commonly visits those who have simply experienced some sort of horror or
I guess, yeah, maybe that's it. He just went crazy. Maybe he just went crazy.
despair. So it is with the troll here, and with many of the Leyndell knights as well, who you find despairing.
It's interesting. It's not because the Frenzy Flame had a foothold here at all. It's just they went crazy from the madness of the battle. This is just magic PTSD. Bro, could someone please do a shonen anime with PTSD as a power system? That would be crazy. Bro gets traumatized and he literally starts using that trauma as his power. That would be a wild power system.
Around Mount Gelmir. A bunch of Leyndell knights can even be found cannibalizing their comrades,
It's not a Nux stream without cannibalism.
adding to the horror of this stage. So it's no wonder then that the land itself has even become afflicted, and eyes of yellow, which grow in lands afflicted by frenzy, have started to flourish in this place. A spirit once allied with Rykard muses on the squalor of this battlefield.
Lord Rykard. That pussy is tight. If this putrid field of death is what your blasphemy would bring, then I can no longer abide. Bro, you're dead. What does that mean, abide? I love how in the end, Frenzy takes the world. It's like, you could try, you do all your different endings and shit, but Frenzy lives on. Frenzy can never die. Let chaos take the world. No one can.
I think this dialogue helps to sell the idea that morale was fading during the war, even amongst Rykard's faithful. But things would only get worse, as Rykard was about to feed himself to the Great Serpent.
Oh shit.
And perhaps I should clarify, at the time of the war, I don't think Rykard had yet fed himself to the...
I don't think so either. I think Rykard only fed himself to the Serpent after the Shattering. Again, that's my understanding of it so far, because Rykard seemed very, chill with working with Ranni about before the Shattering, stuff like that. So I think that the feeding himself to the Serpent gimmick is a more recent thing.
Serpent. This is mostly because of Tanith. Tanith wears the consort's robe, which reads, "Long ago, when Rykard first set eyes on Tanith, she was working as a dancer in a foreign land.
Alright, dude. Alright. I see you, Rykard. I see you.
Soon, he made her his consort."
This is like the most, the simp Rykard moment. I'm just saying. It's like, bro, dude. This is like, what's his name? Tyrion from Game of Thrones? He's like, long ago, when Tyrion first set his eyes on what's-her-face, she was working as a dancer in a foreign land.
The description then goes on to state, she was the only human to remain by his side when he became the Serpent of Blasphemy.
Sheesh! Human? She's a human? Okay.
So, since Rykard supposedly had no more humans at his side when he became the Serpent...
I feel that. The Serpent must have been a pretty recent shtick. Wait, so the Crucible Knights aren't human? Yeah, so she's the only human. Tanith's but aren't... I know, the others are tarnished, right? They're not human. Tanith's into that nasty shit. I'm just saying.
Once Rykard submit to blasphemy and subscribe to Tanith's OnlyFans, everything hath changed.
War must have taken place before this transition, since he obviously still had humans at his side when he was fighting in...
Dude, I hate these abductor virgins. Holy shit.
...the war. That said, you definitely could still argue that Rykard had already fed himself to the Serpent by the time of this war, and that's because of these tattered flags that fly over the battlefield. The symbol shows a depiction of Rykard and the Great Serpent.
Well, I think because at that point, Rykard was worshipping the Great Serpent, right? At that point, the Serpent is represented by this blasphemy, right? It's represented by this idea of grabbing free will against God. Like, it is very biblical in its depiction here. So he is working with the great god of the Mount Gelmir. That doesn't mean he was fed himself to the Serpent at that point and was completely consumed by it.
Not to mention, Ghiza, his Inquisitor, had a weapon decorated with serpent symbolism. So yeah, as it stands,
Alright,
I
alright.
probably lean towards Rykard not having fed himself
same.
to the serpent
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
I think maybe he was just enraptured with it, or maybe this serpent symbolism on the banner.
I'm still waiting for that serpent lore. It still doesn't click to me in this world. I'm just saying, I don't know where it fits in here.
And in Ghiza's weapon just showed up later in the timeline, closer to when we
Inquisitor Pizza.
explore. But it's hard to say for sure. And if you guys know the answer to this, feel free to let me know in the comments. Whatever the case, I do think...
I'll let you know in the comments, don't worry. I got you. Comments are paused. What? What does that even mean, comments are paused? Well, never mind. Well, I don't know if that's supposed to... I don't know.
This assault from Leyndell was the beginning of the end, and I think the final straw was when Rykard doubled down and fed himself.
Tripled down at this point. Bro was completely consumed by blasphemy. He wanted a taste of freedom, a taste of free will, but you're never enough with the taste. There is no such thing as the last act of blasphemy. There is only the next act of blasphemy. And that is why, for the Emperor, we will purge the heretics.
Off to the serpent, great rune and all.
Alright, chapter 3.
It was in this moment that Tanith was truly charmed by him.
Bro, it is impossible to understand the mind of a woman. Impossible. She was a dancer in a distant land. He saved her. He gave her nobility. He gave her everything. And only then, after he fed himself to a snake, bro, women, honestly, women are just, indescrutable. That's not a real word. Inscrutable. That's a word. Like, impossible to comprehend. You think understanding the lore of Elden Ring is difficult? Oh my, you have never tried to understand the mind of a woman. Truly incredible wisdom bearers that cannot be understood. Black holes of wisdom, wit, and an abyss of fascination. Incomprehensible. I don't know. All right, let's keep going. Let's see what we got here. Snake lore. Chapter 3, snake lore. As a woman, I don't understand women as well. Thank you, woman in chat. That's how I sound like in bed. Real. You know I'm having a good time when I go...
We know that Rykard delved into Mount Gelmir and came out with new Death Hex sorceries.
All right.
But he
Snake
must have
lore.
uncovered
Come
a
on,
lot
come
more
on.
within legends
Well, yeah, he was eaten. Man got vored.
of an ancient culture of sacrifice and a serpent god that could not die. But why did Rykard feed himself to such a creature? Well, for one, it's certainly possible that losses from the assault from Leyndell factored into things. With his troops pushed to the brink,
Nah, dude. I think he just wanted more power. He was corrupted by his blasphemy, and he felt like this was just the next level. And he went for that Sir Pussy.
the serpent
Chat. It's Snussy. Okay, don't call it Sir Puss. Don't do that. Don't do that.
might have represented a new promising path forward. But that's just speculation. In terms of concrete proof, we have the remembrance of the blasphemous, which makes it very clear that Rykard took the form of a giant serpent that he might devour, grow, and live eternally. Rykard is then quoted as saying, "I understand. The road of blasphemy is long and perilous. One
Just like my penis.
cannot walk it unprepared to sin."
Yep. That's and he got corrupted. It's not about the last sin he commits. It's about the next sin he commits. There is no end to this path. When you're greedy and you want everything and you're willing to destroy everything around you, eventually it will destroy you. And I feel like that's the major moral when it comes to Rykard. Someone who definitely did see a lot of issues with the actual current Age of Order. But it was too much, and he was consumed.
In the concept art for this scene, the so-called giant
It is I,
serpent
Sir Pussy. I will consume Rykard.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
consuming Rykard is actually pretty small, looking nowhere near as vast as the great serpent that we fight in-game. But if this actually is the great serpent, well, it might make some sense.
Maybe he was super weak. I don't know. This is after a very, very, very long time of being imprisoned at the bottom of a mountain, and it, by consuming Rykard, managed to regrow its glory as an immortal god.
Sense that it would be this small in this scene. The Serpent Hunter seems to suggest the great serpent was actually defeated in the past, so maybe it was eventually reborn as a smaller creature or diminished.
It used to be some sort of god. That's very much what this is saying, and now it's like Voldemort, okay? Sorry to pull out the Voldemort reference. You know how Voldemort lived as like a Horcrux in Harry Potter? Bro was just slithering around there for a while until he was able to get Cedric's body and retain his former glory. That's kind of the vibe I get with the snake. It was like this all-powerful, all-fearful god, immortal, regenerating, rebirthing entity for like just wandering around committing havoc. It was eventually defeated by the Serpent Hunter. Okay, sure, whatever. Eventually defeated. All right. And then it was just kind of wandering around, slithering around as a Horcrux, waiting for something or someone to give it power. And it combining with Rykard, a demigod, it managed to regain its former glory. Together.
In size, and it's only now after consuming Rykard that it's able to begin growing back to its former glory.
Yep.
The details in this scene are amazing.
Horrifying. Look at this. Oh my god.
If you look closely, you realize that Rykard literally served himself up on a golden platter.
I did not notice that. That is freaking terrifying. Oh my god. He actually put himself on a golden platter. Bro, holy macaroni. Orochimaru isn't that sick.
To the snake. Off to the side, there are even a couple of what look like small eggs on a
those were his 3 testicles. That's why they called him Rykard, the third testicled one.
Silver platter, and only one of them has hatched. So, did the great serpent hatch from this egg? What about the other eggs? I don't really know what to make of this, but again, this scene is concept art, essentially, so maybe I shouldn't be taking it too literally. We also learn from the Devourer's scepter that in his final moments, Rykard briefly saw a vision of the future, the shape of a serpent devouring the world.
Yeah.
A vision of the future.
I love that. That's so cool and so iconic. This is like an actual Antichrist moment, you know? Like he thought he would become the devil by doing this.
This reminds me a lot of a description from Dark Souls 3 that a lot of you might remember, where another god devourer.
I have played Dark Souls 3, but I don't know anything about the lore at all. Literally nothing. There's this place called Lothric, and that's about it.
Being called
God, I have to do the Dark Souls lore after we finish with Elden Ring.
Aldrich also saw a vision of the future, except where Rykard foresaw a serpent devouring the world, Aldrich foresaw the coming age of the deep sea. The question is, can we trust either of these visions as legitimate visions of the future?
Whenever I hear like prophecy stuff, I always view them as like a perspective future. Like he saw a perspective future that if you, the Tarnished, would not have jumped in there. I don't know, maybe it would be different.
Or are they more like visions of what may or may...
I love he's like, I had a dream last night, Dad, that the future was being devoured by a serpent. And his dad is like, ooh, son, that's very cool. That's very cool. And then he proceeds to cut his own head off, put it on a golden platter, and serve it up to a snake to devour. Damn, that's extreme.
May not come to pass. It's hard to say, but given enough time in these universes, I suppose it's impossible to rule out that these things would never happen.
I guess, that's true. Never know. Maybe at some point there will be an era of blasphemy, I guess. But by the fact that this isn't even a possible ending in Elden Ring, I don't think it's likely. I think it's just more likely the serpent corrupted him, showed him some sort of false prophecy to regain its former strength. Again, this is the snake we're talking about, all right? Obviously modeled off the biblical one. It is gonna give you false visions of the future if it involves getting you to sin and getting you to become a blasphemer.
Also, both of these visions are worded ambiguously enough that even if Rykard or Aldrich were to die, their visions could still come to pass.
True.
And in Rykard's case, after all,
I serpent never die.
Yeah, serpent never dies. But Rykard's dead. The snake deity is still around, right? We've established it's immortal. And who knows, in a few thousand more years, maybe some other demigod will feed itself to the snake to bring it back.
To Rykard's knights, this blasphemy with the serpent was one step too far.
Yeah, I see that.
Someone please kill him.
God, I love the voice acting. Every single character is just voice acted to perfection.
That horrendous serpent. Praetor Rykard. You're tarnished.
God damn.
Here to put the demigod
Dude, rub your throat on me, please. This is so good. It's gorgeous.
to the sword. Then please, kill the great serpent.
He gooned too hard for this pussy. He must be bonked. His gooning must come to an end. So much edging, so much pain.
Praetor Rykard's ambitions, though blasphemous, marked him a worthy sovereign.
But they were reduced to gluttonous depravity once he gave himself.
Dude, look at the majesty of this scene. I love this scene. Every single time I see this cutscene, it literally sends me. Look how gorgeous this is. Like, it just shows you the sense of scale. This is what you have to kill. What an insane presentation.
To the serpent, whatever that thing is.
Actual Orochimaru reference, pulling a sword out of the snake's mouth.
It is no longer Praetor Rykard. Someone must kill him
Damn.
to spare him and his ambitions.
To spare him. He's already been so insanely absorbed. He is no longer the man he used to be. He is just the complete outward, and he is just an embodiment of his ambition at this point. He is no longer a person. He lost himself completely to ambition and blasphemy.
From
Together.
further dishonor.
Damn, bro.
This is the armor of the Gelmir Knights. It bears an emblem that none wear any longer, standing as it does for a lord that fell from loft ambition into gluttonous depravity.
Real.
Indeed, there are no living Gelmir Knights left in game.
Oh, that's so rough.
And as the lord lost his dignity, so too did these knights lose their master.
Yep.
This is the Serpent Hunter, a weapon that serves as both greatsword and spear.
We've already established the most badass thing in the universe is taking two big fucking weapons and putting them together. Honestly, that is how you create an absolute giga weapon. I'm sorry, a gun that shoots knives? Yes. A chainsaw that is also a sword? Yes. A giant greatsword spear? Okay, dude, I am with you.
Thought to have been
I want a gun that shoots guns that shoots knives. That would be crazy. Yes, yes.
used to hunt an immortal great serpent.
It's a lightsaber gun. Isn't that a thing in Star Wars? I'm pretty sure there is a lightsaber gun that was just too strong and they had to seal it. I did when I did the Star Wars lore dive, I think they had that. Like this big ass lightsaber railgun. Just meow, and it just destroys planets and shit. No, maybe not.
In the distant past, it manifests
The orcs probably have one of those. True.
a long blade of light when facing such a creature. When their master's heroic aspirations degenerated into mere greed, his men searched for a weapon with which they might halt their lord.
That's so crazy. Oh, his own servants, his own people, his own loyal subjects had to hunt a way to defeat him because it was only a shell of his former self. To stop him from furthering dishonoring himself, they wanted to kill him.
The fact this weapon exists obviously suggests the Great Serpent had enemies that wanted to kill it in the past.
It was killed in the past. That's why it's no longer wandering around. It's an immortal, remember?
I guess sacrificing everything around you might do that. Curiously, the weapon uses a type of white light power that I don't think manifests anywhere else in Elden Ring, and I wish we knew more about whatever enemy of the Great Serpent created this weapon.
Yeah, and again, you're spitting right now because the Great Serpent is one of the biggest mysteries of Elden Ring. I don't know how this guy was just wandering around living here for so long. Like, it does not fit with all the other cosmic entity stuff.
Long ago. Regardless, this was the perfect weapon for the Gelmir Knights to find, so they heroically tried to use it against Rykard, and failed.
Well, no,
I left the serpent-slaying spear in the Lord's chamber, worthy tarnished. Brandish the spear and run him through. The great serpent.
God, I'm gonna run him through.
That
I'm gonna impale the shit out of him.
unspeakable monstrosity.
In a way, these
I never noticed that. I never noticed that his head was somehow here. When he's in his first phase of the boss fight, I didn't realize that you could actually see his head. Did you notice that?
Monstrosity.
I guess I was always focused on this one. Not this one, but I didn't notice that you could see it.
In a way, these knights were still loyal to Rykard.
I will anal probe that snake, and it will see its last enema.
Or the memory of him, at least. They wanted to kill Rykard to spare him and his ambitions from dishonor, but Rykard was simply remaining loyal to his ideals, if you think about it.
Sort of.
Even if he had to abandon his dignity to go down this path. The serpent takes, bolstering itself with the strength of others, and to Rykard, this was just an extension of his current practice, as taking by force became the rule when he had turned to heresy long ago.
I guess.
He believed that the gods were no different, and there might be more truth to that than we know. Look at the Erdtree, assimilating the death.
Every single one of these greater gods, every single one of these gods of order has caused so much death and destruction. Look at the blood god, look at the rot god. The amount of destruction and death that it spreads in order for its order to take hold. Like, I'm not saying that blasphemy isn't an iconic path and a path that makes sense in the world of Elden Ring. It's the fact that I can so see why going down the path of blasphemy is legendarily heroic. You are going down a path of being opposed to by every elder god. It's awesome and badass. But despite that fact, if you go down the path of blasphemy, you could lose yourself. And that's what happened to Rykard. He forgot that he was fighting for free will, and he only remembered his fight as a heretical one.
To feed itself, for example. Or look at Godric using an ancient ritual of grafting to bolster his own strength. All things can be conjoined, indeed. But while Rykard kept his will and remained loyal to his ideals,
somewhat, I guess,
his forces signed up to usurp the Order, not really to become worse than it.
I don't know. I don't prescribe. I don't subscribe to this idea that he's completely following his own ideals. I don't think he followed his ideals when he fully became serpentified. I think that he got corrupted by his ideals. I think the initial ideals that he had were noble to some regard, and the current ones are not.
And so Rykard lost the favor with the majority of his forces. But speaking of his forces, the marionettes actually weren't the only automatons who fought on, incapable of death or despair. Rykard also had
I hate those, the abductor virgins.
The Iron Virgins, also known as...
They're called the Iron Virgins because you ain't ever getting your dick wet after you see one of these guys. They are the forever boner killer. If you ever have an uncomfortable boner in public, just think of these guys and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Abductor virgins. These undying iron monstrosities have a lot going on with their designs. For one, they each cradle a baby.
Horrifying, by the way.
Which is
so scary. Oh my god.
Fascinating symbolism that I hope might be explained in the DLC, but it's what's on the inside that counts here.
That sounds so bad.
And I'm not talking about the strips of meat on the inside.
It's the snakes.
Which keep their victims nice and cozy. I'm talking about the snakes.
Yeah, I knew he was gonna say that.
If you look closely,
they're giant snake hands that pull you in.
Inside these creatures, you'll realize that the snakes are actually wrapped around a sort of central mechanism. Thus, I think these abductors are likely piloted by snakes.
I did not consider that at all. That's great. They're biological life forms? I thought they were completely mechanical.
Insides and the snakes even take extra damage when hit. which is a bit more evidence for the snakes being the most important part of the machine.
Interesting. Look at that grafted. Look at the design on this thing. The grafted snakes together, the fleshy insides, the horrifying baby thing.
The fact that snakes appear here seems to suggest
this is like an actual snake mech. That's crazy.
That these machines were created after the Shattering and after Rykard took on the Serpent as his aspect. So that's why I only mention these at this latter point in the video, as I'm trying to present things in order with the timeline, and I think these entities showed up later in that timeline.
All right,
clearly,
I respect it. I like that.
Rykard was still keeping up his habit of...
I'm so excited to see how Mesmer fits on with all this. You're so right, chat, because he's also Mesmer the Impaler, big snake guy. But maybe it has nothing to do with this snake per se. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot there. There's so much to unpack, and nothing is coincidental when it came to putting this world together.
Abducting people, and now it was the snakes who fulfilled that role, spiriting their victims away.
Snake
not unlike
and
the snakes of Dark Souls and Sekiro. Interestingly, the texture of
the whole idea, the whole symbolism of snakes is the idea that they will spirit people away, either mentally or physically. They'll contort your ideals, right? And that's ultimately what blasphemy is.
These snakes is quite metallic, almost as if they're inorganic, animated creatures. And when it comes to snakes having a metallic appearance, there actually is quite a lot of precedence for that phenomenon in Elden Ring. The coil shield, for example, is a bronze snake that becomes animated, to the point where it's able to bite and still inflict poison upon enemies. The Gravekeepers, too, wear armbands.
Damn, I didn't notice those were snakes. That's cool.
Are embellished with bronze snakes.
Dude.
And there are some Gravekeepers whose bronze snakes briefly actually come to life.
That's so sick!
In a grab attack.
I never noticed that. Probably you guys never got grabbed by these guys. These guys suck.
So, yeah, there's definitely something going on with bronze snakes in particular. Incidentally, these Gravekeepers have lore that explains that the snake...
Of course they have lore. Of course the Gravekeepers have lore. Sure!
Snake has become a hated symbol in the lands between. The
Gravekeepers... Yeah. No thanks to Rykard.
Were actually once gladiators who were driven from the Colosseum, and their cloak reads, "The snake is viewed as a traitor to the Erdtree.
I wonder why! Big ass blasphemer."
And the audience delighted in seeing these bronze effigies beaten and battered in...
Oh, that's why. They were wearing them because the audience liked seeing the snakes get cooked.
Gladiatorial combat. Now, at first you'd think that the snake is viewed as a traitor to the Erdtree thanks to Rykard. However...
Absolutely not! No! If anything, no, not at all. Rykard was a blasphemer and therefore was a perfect combo with the snake. The snake is the ultimate blasphemer. It is a god, a deity that goes against the outer gods. I would argue if the lands between has any, let's say, divine entity that represents it the most and isn't just a cosmic parasite, I would say the snake is probably the most indicative of the actual ideology of the lands between. Without some sort of superimposed order by an outer eldritch deity, the snake is the ultimate representation of what this world would be without order. That's why it's so fascinating to me, and that's why I want to know more about it. It's the ultimate enemy of the Erdtree because it is the white blood cells of the lands between that is trying its best to fight off the host virus of the Erdtree.
However, I'm not too sure if that works with the timeline of Elden Ring. Rykard was only consumed by the Serpent after the Shattering, and the arenas where the gladiators would have fought were used primarily in the age of Lord Godfrey, and the practice was said to have died out by the age of King Consort Radagon. So, if audiences were delighting in seeing the symbol of a snake being...
Had to be before. The snake was always the enemy of the Erdtree. It was always the enemy of order. It was always the blasphemer, the heretic, and that's why it was able to unite with Rykard. For sure, for sure. Are you saying if there was no cosmic beings, the serpent would reign supreme? Absolutely. The serpent is the well, absolutely. That's at least what I think. It's the governing deity of the lands between. It was born here under Mount Gelmir or whatever. It lived here for centuries. Bro, you do not get to ask a question and then hit me with the yap emote in chat. Get out of here.
Beaten and battered, you'd think that would have occurred in Godfrey's age then, which was long before Rykard. Therefore, the snake must...
There's also the dragons. The dragons aren't immortal. The dragons were an age that I think existed after Order. After the cosmic entity of Order. That's why it became an Elden Lord. Placidusax was an Elden Lord because the dragons somehow did actually have some sort of order to them. I think the dragons are post-snake. At least in my game theory. In my personal understanding of the lore. That's me. I do my own Nuxanor lore dives. I tried my best to put this together. In my you like my lore dives. You know, I don't explain it.
Must have already had an ill reputation in the lands between.
Yeah.
This is where Mesmer comes in.
What? Okay, I'm sitting down. Pants are brown. I'm ready to go.
So the DLC is not yet out as of the making of this video, but the recent trailer seems to suggest that Mesmer and his serpentine aspect has existed from very early on in the timeline.
Well, yeah, for sure.
And since Mesmer as a character has clearly done something worthy of being sealed away in the Land of Shadow, I wonder what could he have done? Did he assault the Erdtree, perhaps?
Yo, we are not assaulting minors, Erdtrees in this video, okay? I don't know. Don't want to touch that.
Did this event have anything to do with the Great Serpent, or even the serpent-slaying greatsword, maybe? Could it have something to do with the Giant's Forge, which has snakes on its design, and a fire that can burn down the Erdtree?
Wow, really good eye there! It makes sense. It makes sense. I'm telling you, it all comes together. Snakes are the antithesis of a parasitical order. Snakes are blasphemers. A blasphemer is something that goes against God's wish. And in the lands between, which is a battleground between cosmic gods, the blasphemer is the host. The Erdtree is the organism that is a parasite. Maybe the snake's the good guy. Maybe the snake is only regarded as the bad guy because we are living in a post-Golden Order world. In a post-cosmic god era, the snake is the bad guy. History is written by the victor, and clearly the snake lost.
Or could Mesmer have once attempted to burn down the Erdtree with his own flames? So many questions, and I think we should all go into the DLC looking for answers.
Dude, I am so excited for the DLC. You have no idea when's it coming out. Oh my god. 4 more days, bro. 4 more days. You have no idea how excited I am.
2 questions like these. At any rate, the abductor virgins certainly aren't doing the snake's reputation any favors in this modern age. Their iconic weapon is this, the same wheel as Inquisitor Ghiza's signature weapon, which was adopted for use by the Iron Virgins.
Dude, I hate them so much!
Therefore, I wouldn't be surprised if Ghiza invented them. Our only other source of information on the abductors comes from patches.
The most unreliable source of information of all time. Actual propagandist, oh my god.
Making your way to the Erdtree, no? Well, I heard something that might help.
I wanted to tell you something. If you simply stroke my cock, you never know what could emerge.
A special means of reaching your destination.
Oh my god,
Have you ever seen an Iron Virgin? The clunky contraptions are whirlwinds of sickles and spiked wheels. But long ago, they were endowed with a spell of transposition. And get this. A surviving virgin sits at the bottom of the big water wheel.
Yeah, this is how I always get to Volcano Manor in my playthroughs. I go to that virgin abductor at the bottom and it abducts me and literally takes you to the Volcano Manor.
In the Academy of Rhea Lucaria. Its transpositional powers fully intact. So right, if you get caught in it on purpose, it'll chuck you out straight at the base of the Erdtree. Or so I'm told.
He's literally lying to you. It doesn't. It takes you to the freaking Volcano Manor.
Oh, I think you should definitely go there. It'll be a fast transportation to the Erdtree.
And then it shits you out at the bottom of a volcano. Yeah, you snort, you laugh, you piece of shit.
This explains why this abductor in particular is still capable of transporting you while the others can't. Their abduction powers are a spell.
What? Okay, interesting. Didn't look at it this way. I just thought it kind of gobbled you up and then it nommed you and then it just waltzed you over there.
It might have even been Rykard who cast it. You'd think a son of Renalla would be capable of casting an enchantment that could last all this time. This one intact abduction spell takes victims to a
Yep, all the way here to Volcano Manor. I use this shortcut every single playthrough.
subterranean Inquisition chamber, where they could be interrogated. Rykard's abductions clearly adapted to include these war machines.
A professional abductor. Hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm an abductor. You know, I just go out there. I'm really good at this.
Obviously, after making an enemy of Leyndell, he couldn't just invite nobles to the Volcano Manor for interrogation.
True. He had to fucking kidnap them. Let's go.
Anymore. The world has become hostile to him now, and for a time after the Shattering, I imagine these machines were probably a very important way of getting intel about the state of the world.
Yeah, he just had these guys rolling around everywhere.
From widely across the lands between. And these machines are found widely across the lands between.
Maury Calliope found the transporting virgin and died to without knowing it teleported you? What? Could you find me that clip? That is the funniest thing in the world. Please find me that clip.
They're endlessly fighting and endlessly attempting to abduct, even though their teleportation enchantments are long faded away. There's a couple of interesting machines. One in Gelmir is missing a head and
Okay, never noticed that.
has a more wild attack pattern.
It's broken. Maybe he's broken, huh?
It's become a part of a demi-human ambush here. Maybe they beheaded it so that they could better use it to their advantage. That same sort of thing seems to have happened to this one in the Altus Plateau as well, which is stuck at the bottom of a cave.
little guy stuck at the bottom of a cave. I always wondered why you find them so sporadically around. If they are actually there to abduct nobles or people for the Volcano Manor, you'd think that they would, you know, actually be there and not just wander around cave floors.
Here, the Volga militia have weaponized it, and it's clearly defeated many intruders within this death pit. Incidentally, that's also what's happened to the one in Raya Lucaria. It can't get out of this hole, and apparently that's the best way to deal with these machines.
That's hilarious. You just dump so that's why you find them in all these random places. They just abduct the abductor. They just find one of these death weapons and they're like, oh, we could use this. We'll just make a pit and we'll just put it in the pit. And then anytime we don't like anyone, we're gonna put them in the pit with the thing. Like, we don't need to deal with it. It'll just we'll have it work for us now.
When you explore the subterranean interrogation chamber that this abductor takes you to, you realize that no torturers are left here. The need for that seems to have long faded, along with the teleportation spells on the abductors. Somewhat ironically, these days it seems that the Albinorics, now driven to insanity, have become the only remaining line of defense.
And they are in the most cruel torture positions I've ever seen.
In this place. Some...
They make those BDSM freaking cosplayers look like they're having the time of their lives.
Even still wear the black dumpling, which is a mask forced...
Look at what they're sitting in. Look at these torture devices that they're stuck in.
On a victim's head to lend torture an extra degree of cruelty. It magnifies one's fears and makes them acutely aware of all forms of pain.
Nice.
I'm not sure why...
Dude, look at this! Imagine, they just leave them here like this for eternity. Like, this is These are sad boys.
Rykard was so keen to torture Albinaurics.
Well, because they're the racial minority that everyone seems to have a good time fucking with in this world. It's like you can get away with whatever you want. That's pretty sad, honestly.
But everyone hates Albinaurics in the lands
Why is he saying it? No.
between, it seems.
It's not casual racism. It's professional racism.
So I guess Rykard was no different. Indeed, torture with the Black Dumpling wasn't done to get intel. To quote the item, when the Black Dumpling goes on, the torturer no longer seeks answers.
Yep. You just completely remove them from their humanity. The Black Dumpling goes on, and it's just eternal torture. No even purpose for it.
Only to inflict suffering without hope of relief.
Classic CIA maneuver, am I right?
And so we...
This is what they do if the TSA check in the airport fails. It's like after they do the anal cavity search, it's dumpling time.
arrive at the state of the Volcano Manor as it stands when our character explores it, long after the Shattering. It's now a place crawling with grotesque creatures, and chief among them are the man-serpents.
The serpents of the volcano. I cannot believe this. In the whole Rykard the Serpent section, we still did not get a clear answer as to who the serpent is. I like my theory. I think the serpent is the governing deity of the lands between. The natural, biological one. And all these different orders, superimposed cosmic shit that happens, and it, the blasphemer, is there to fight for themselves. I think the snake is ultimately the good guy. And the oppressors are the different cosmic deities that are just playing chess with the lands between. That's my theory. I'm gonna stick with it. I like it. It fits very well, I think, with the cosmic horror of this world. And what is a blasphemer if not someone that fights against these oppressors? The serpents, baby. It's serpent.
As the name
man.
implies, the man-serpents were born of man and serpent.
What? What is that? What was that? I'm just saying. Okay. I can see that.
But what human would copulate with another species?
Sit down, chat. All right, you are not. Stop, everyone's spamming wood in chat right now. Get out of here. Get out of here, chat. I don't want to hear any of this.
At first glance, you might think that they might have
Tanith, no.
been born of a union between Tanith and Rykard.
Oh,
Rykard
God.
had become one with the
Dude, how did that even work, though, bro?
snake at this late point in our timeline, and Tanith was utterly devoted to him, to the point where Rykard actually offered Tanith a tonic of forgetfulness to
Wow.
wipe her memories of him, but she refused, saying, "My lord, there could be no greater distress than to forget you."
Get yourself a girl that loves you like Tanith likes the snussy.
So Rykard clearly cared enough about her well-being to the point where he wanted her to forget what he had become.
Nice.
And Tanith was so charmed by him that she refused.
Riz it's an unknowable beast. Is Riz having abs? Is Riz having money? Well, you see, in the unfathomable mind of a whammon, you can never possibly guess that in fact the ultimate Riz was getting yourself consumed by a giant snake god.
However, despite this dedication to each other, Tanith would not become the mother of the man-serpents. Maybe that was another trauma that Rykard did not want to subject her to.
Alright, so who was?
I will never be a good mother.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, don't stick your dick in crazy.
My heart is too frail. Our Lord must have known this all along. My meekness is all too clear.
Yeah, sure.
Let's learn more
all her meekness. She don't want to. Okay,
about
dude.
Tanith. We've learned from the consort's robe that Rykard met Tanith when she was working as a dancer in a foreign land. We learn more about her talents from her dancer's castanets, which are these small instruments
Where on earth do you find these?
that some dancers clap together in their hands as they perform. Tanith's reveal that her passionate dance comprises no seductiveness, but merely a dignified beauty.
Yeah, no seductiveness. Yeah.
Well, you see, the reason why I hired the prostitutes was not for seductive purposes, it was because I was lonely.
And I think they're making a point of Tanith's lack of seductiveness for a reason. After her meeting with Rykard, she became his consort, yes, but I don't think that Rykard wanted to have children with her.
Huge L-Riz, Tanith. Huge L-Riz.
Lady Tanith is my mother.
Ah! Wait, oh god, she just says it.
I am told I was born by the grace of a glorious king. That my mother cherishes this form I inhabit.
Alright, sure.
The origins of the man-serpents are explored more deeply when we meet Raya.
Hi,
who is
Raya.
a scout for the Volcano Manor.
Oh, look at her with her back all bent. She's probably a snake lady.
Who quickly reveals herself as Zorias.
Oh my god, she's snake. Yeah, that was a joke. I knew that. Oh, that pre-watch. Yeah. I knew that.
A man-serpent who is starting...
A woman-serpent? Yo, god, guys, this is 2024. You're gonna call her a man-serpent? That's just derivative and disgusting, okay? I've seen The Acolyte. It taught me right and wrong.
To question her birthright. In the end, Zorias comes to the conclusion that she was not born by the grace of a great king. Rather, she was born in some repellent birthing ritual.
Power of one. The power of two, the power of many. And then Tanith, Raya pops out. That's how it happened.
And what's more, the Lady Tanith isn't her true mother.
Okay.
Funny, isn't it?
Yes, hilarious. Whenever I think of snakes and men having sex together, it just makes my mouth furl.
I am certain of it. I was born inside this. It's a part of my birth, mother.
Nice.
The truth of Zorias' birth is revealed by the serpent's amnion, which reads, "Amnion from the mother's womb, which cradled the poor unwanted offspring
Oh,
of
that's
a
so
repellent
sad.
birthing ritual. It will never dry out, remaining damp indefinitely." Truth is, Zorias' birth mother is almost certainly this terrible woman named Daedika.
Who?
We can surmise this because of the talisman that Zorias leaves behind
Looks like a shrunken head from Pirates of the Caribbean.
at the end of the questline. Its
Yeah, take it away, Annie! Take it away, Annie! And it's this guy.
description reads,
Take it away, Annie! The disturbing likeness of a woman whose skin was flayed currently drives the night bus.
disturbing likeness of a woman whose skin was flayed. She smiles with a serene tenderness, increases damage taken.
Increases damage taken. This is like the most classic Elden Ring talisman of all time. It's like, do you want a talisman that will remind you of a flayed woman smiling with tenderness that will increase the damage you take? Well, look no further, ladies and gentlemen. It's a steal.
It is said that this woman, named Daedika, indulged in every form of adultery and wicked pleasure imaginable, giving birth to a myriad of grotesque children.
That is horrifying. Like, literally the most horrifying item description of all time. Bro. It was said that when Daedika started her OnlyFans account, she was in the top 1% of all OnlyFans users.
According to our translator, Loki, the Japanese word for grotesque used here is actually the same one the game uses
God, I love that sword.
to describe the deformed man-serpents in English. The clear implication being that this woman consented to what the serpent's amnion calls a repellent birthing ritual.
Consent. Consent is based. Look, can we take a second to appreciate the fact that, yes, even though she was used as a birthing ritual to birth many deformed children, she did it with consent. Let's freaking go, guys. Progressiveness has finally reached Elden Ring. I can't believe Elden Ring went woke. Elden Ring God damn. Elden Ring went so woke with this one, guys. It's so woke now. It like believes in consent. Oh, dude, I can't believe Elden Ring went woke.
With a serpent giving birth to the man-serpents. The serpent she consorted with was almost certainly Rykard himself. I suggest this because in the 1.0 version of the Daedika talisman, Daedika was actually a soft-featured man who
power of one, the power of two, the power of man.
Was one of Captain Rykard's paramours.
So then who fucked him for him to have snake children?
It seems this description was eventually changed so that Daedakar's character could support the lore of them giving birth to the man-serpents.
That's so crazy. The amount of lore in this game is mind-blowing. Daedakar's not even a character! Daedakar is one item that you find in one hallway that explains and blows open literally the entire theory of how the man-serpents came to be. How crazy is that?
Therefore, they needed to be a woman. However, I imagine
Therefore, there needed to be a woman. That is the most woke thing I've ever heard in my life. So woke, guys. I can't do this sarcasm woke thing. I'm gonna get canceled for it. Let's keep going.
Where Daedakar was one of Rykard's lovers could conceivably still be intact.
Ha! Conceivably. I see what you did there.
Therefore, I think it's likely that Rykard is the father of the man-serpents. Not to mention...
Hence why he's known as Daddy Rykard by me.
The man-serpent spirit ashes more explicitly state that long ago, the elder serpent that dwelled on Mount Gelmir devoured a demigod, and then the birth of the man-serpents followed. Also, the similar naming convention that Raya and Rykard share is another piece of evidence.
Alright, I see that. Right? You know how Rykard is the son of Renalla, father of Raya? I see that.
And finally, the serpent Amnion, Raya
This is disgusting, by the way. I've never paid attention to it, but this is gross.
was born from says it cradled the poor, unwanted
Oh, nice.
offspring.
Let's go.
I'm told
Yo, she just like me, for real, for real.
the Japanese word for unwanted could perhaps more accurately be stating that Raya is a noble's bastard child, which she kind of is if
Right, if Rykard's the dad.
Rykard is her father, since
that.
Tanith is not her birth mother. So it is that the man-serpents actually might not have been completely unwanted
Dude, look at that flailing!
at all.
Look at the animation on this guy.
An older version of the serpent's amnion states that there are some man-serpents with particularly intelligent offspring. And
Nice.
while this is
Love
cut
that.
content, it's obviously still true. Not
You have the sorcerer ones. You have Raya, who gets you on the whole quest.
just because of Raya, but because of this guy. This bloat-headed
Yeah.
man-serpent is
Sorcerer.
presented as if they're royalty, with a lavish cloak, jeweled chest, and large throne of their own. They stand here surrounded by human remains, and they're in a position of dominance over the surviving human nobles who are at the foot of the steps as well. These nobles are tormented by what is likely the serpent's poison.
Yeah, looks like poison to me.
Clearly, man is no longer valued in this place.
Yeah, true. There is a new top species.
A new honored one. Egg boys.
And the man-serpents now rule in their stead.
Nice.
Indeed, the man-serpents are actually closest to the waygate that takes you to Rykard, suggesting that they might speak on his behalf somewhat. Speaking of which, it makes sense that a carrion, a former one at least, like Rykard, would have a waygate.
Dude, that's so interesting. I never even thought of it. But the reason why he's using, like, the glintstone sorceries is because his grandma is Lunala. Renalla, sorry. His grandma's Renalla. Right? If his dad is Rykard, oh my god, that's crazy. Didn't even think of that.
But I'm getting off topic. The bloathead serpent itself casts some very advanced glintstone magics.
Yeah,
And the
I see
Gelmir
that.
glintstone staff they wield talks about how the man-serpents draw from faith, in addition to intelligence, to enhance the potency of their sorcery. Their faith, I assume, would likely be directed at the serpent god.
Right? Because all of his spells, like the magma spells, all those sorceries, use faith. But all the intelligent spells come from Renalla and the moon sorceries. The intelligent spells.
Which once had a religion of its own.
Works.
After all.
Oh, that's right. They had a whole church and shit with the godskin
And
guy.
the man-serpent's intelligence that they used to cast spells would make sense as well, considering the carrion influence and maybe even heritage that they have thanks to Rykard. The staff itself even makes a lot of sense for a man-serpent to wield, as it has red glintstone at the tip as the catalyst and red glintstone is specifically formed from the blood of sacrifices, and the serpents once had a culture of sacrifice as well.
Fits well.
In addition
Works.
to...
I love how every teeny bit of lore just fits so well together.
This man-serpent's...
Did you know that a snake is 20% throat? Chat, I'm gonna banish you to the Shadow Realm if you keep this going.
mastery of sorcery, the man-serpents in general seem to have learned how to fashion weapons and shields, like the copper round shield, for example, which has been tempered in lava. And then there's also the magma blade, which was fashioned from actual lava.
Yeah, and it whips you and shit. Yeah.
And is considered impossible for a human to have made. Clearly these serpents have an affinity with magma.
And they're also intelligent. They use magma sorceries just like their great-grandpa snake. It works. It works. It fits very nicely.
And according to the sorcery, Gelmir's fury, the arrogance of attempting to harness the fury of the volcano belongs to men and serpents alone. Speaking of serpents also, there are a few magma worms in Mount Gelmir.
Right, but those were dragons, right?
And they're at home here in the lava of the volcano. The magma worms are explicitly former heroes who aspired to become dragons.
Wait, they weren't dragons? They were little step cousins of dragons? They're creatures that wanted to become dragons?
But turned into worms instead. And
oh god, that's so sad. Oh my god.
Lore actually doesn't relate too much to Mount Gelmir. However, I think their lore could still be a nod towards serpents being lesser dragons. Again, serpents being lesser dragons is a From Software staple.
Yeah, but I don't know if I like that specifically for Elden Ring. I get that that's a staple for Dark Souls maybe, but for Elden Ring specifically, it really seems like the Great Serpent is so detached from dragons. On the contrary, I think it's older than dragons. So saying that snakes are descendant of dragons, I don't know if that works in Elden Ring.
At this point, within the Volcano Manor, we also see
the winged snakes. Those I
serpent statues,
Yeah.
many with wings.
But you'd think you would be dragons then, right? If serpents are descendants of dragons, you'd think that the statues would be more dragonoid.
Which could be a reference to their once heavenly draconic origins.
No!
But
sorry. This is just me headcanoning. But technically this is just him headcanoning too.
hopefully Messmer and his draconic eye and his...
Oh fuck, I'm so excited to see the Messmer lore. Oh my god.
Wings and snakes elaborate on this point in the DLC, since I feel like there's some ancient history we're missing. Speaking of ancient history, one of the biggest mysteries in all of Mount Gelmir is this place, the Temple of Igle.
Okay.
This place is where we loot
where we fight the Godskin fatso.
The Serpent's Amnion, that product of a birthing ritual that Raya recognizes and was born from. This item is overshadowed, though, by this, the flayed skin and head of a serpent, which I don't
know, I thought that was like a shed skin, almost, of the serpent. Or maybe it's the original body of the serpent that was killed before it regained its power through Rykard.
Assume might be Igle, who the temple is named after, though that's just speculation.
Okay.
Another piece of speculation is that this
dude, look at this daunting visual.
Large serpent's skin is flayed in the first place. Though
maybe it's the Godskin guys. The Godskin. That's why the Godskin fatso is here, because what they do is they strip the skin off of gods and turn them into their robes. So maybe that's why the Godskin guy was here, to flay this giant serpent god.
I think that might be explained by the presence of the Godskin noble, who defends it. To sum up the Godskins lore brief...
Thank you! I don't know anything about the Godskin lore. They're just big, meaty black holes in my mind.
The Godskin nobles once served a character called the Glomide Queen, who was...
That's a character? Who the hell is that?
Clearly a character who was a proponent of bringing death to the gods. And what's interesting about the Glomide Queen is that there's some dialogue from Melina that suggests that the Glomide Queen doesn't just care about death, but births as well. And so what if
God, I hate that rolling attack.
the serpent's amnion, this product of new birth, might actually be what's being defended by the godskin here? Or maybe the godskin wants to bring death to the serpent god.
That's what I thought it was here for. I thought it knew that somehow this giant ancient serpent god was resurrected thanks to Rykard, and so the freaking guy showed up here as like the to try to hunt the snake. I thought that was like what he was doing here.
Maybe this godskin, like so many other godskins in game, is allied with blasphemous forces in order to strike back at Queen
What? I didn't think so at all. Interesting.
Marika. Or maybe the godskins have ties to the snake, since their necks can do this extendy thing.
Oh my god, the extendy thing! Everything is connected! What?
Maybe they were involved with the man-serpent birthing ritual.
No, really? Okay, maybe.
Maybe we just have no idea. Because
Yes! You see, Vati and I were on the same wavelength here.
you can speculate in a ton of different directions when it comes to this place. So I'm going to stop myself here until we have the DLC.
Yes.
Just in case
Yes.
that brings some new
Yes!
information.
Oh my god, I can't believe it's coming in 4 days. 4 days, bro. 4 days.
I'm also going to hold off on discussing the recusants of Volcano Manor in this video.
I'm very surprised he didn't mention that, because that seemed like the perfect stepping stone. Like, the idea that now that Rykard completely fell to blasphemy and all of his soldiers had to leave him, all of a sudden he had all these Volcano Manor recusants showing up. Actual blasphemers that are out there to wipe out known tarnished of the Erdtree.
As we'd love to cover them in a more cinematic Prepare to Cry episode.
Okay, I'm down for that. That sounds cool.
And I don't really like treading the same ground twice on my channel.
Respect.
If I can avoid it.
Respect.
And if you're interested in supporting my videos and seeing that Prepare to Cry video early, as well as many other videos, check out my Patreon. We have some new Patreon merch. We've got...
Hell yeah. Definitely support this guy. I love Vati's content. He does such a good job. Definitely give him some love. And let me know if you want me to do more Elden Ring stuff, because this was the lore of Elden Ring is blasphemous. This was the Rykard deep dive. I think next is probably going to either be Frenzy or Ranni or DLC, if that happens first. So definitely let me know what you are down for. Again, if this video doesn't perform well, I might just watch all that myself. I'll take a big, long shit and go through all the lore alone, because I really want to consume all of it already, goddammit. So thank you all so much for being here. Have yourself a most wonderful... Miquella would be best? All right, I'm down for a Miquella lore dive. The Age of Dung. All right, I don't know if he has one of those, but thank you so much for being here. Let me know the next lore dive you want me to do. Bloodborne, Warhammer, so much stuff. Stay weird, fam. If you made it to the end, click one of these 2 videos, which also will definitely get me canceled. See you live on King. Stay weird, fam.